Get all this shit.
All right. All right. I think I'm on the air. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
I'm trying to get dialed in here.
I thought we were waiting for our archive.
Waiting for Dan to.
I'm riding in my car.
Tell me when you're ready. I got to make a turd, but God.
Go ahead and make a turd.
Okay.
Don't make one. Leave one.
Let's not get on the air until Porter's back from the bathroom. Riding in my car. We're not on the air, though, right?
We are streaming right now on YouTube.
Oh, we are?
Yes.
Hi, everybody. This is Jeff Sargent. You're on the Jeff Sargent Show. Let's play the theme song. You're on the Jeff Sargent Show, and I, of course, am not Jeff Sargent. I am your wacky co-host, Second Banana, whatever the hell else you want to call me. I am Pat Jankowitz. And while my co-host is indisposed, I will wrap with you with Dan the Man. How are you, Dan?
I'm doing good this morning. I overslept a little bit, so we're running a little bit late. I'm still trying to gear up here in the engineering booth.
I'm going to go to Jeff's mic because it sounds like mine isn't on.
No, yours is on.
Oh, it is on? Okay. Sounds funny this morning. All right, cool. So you excited about Halloween weekend? What are your big plans?
Tonight we're going to carve pumpkins.
Aw.
And we're going to watch that show called Stranger Things.
Wow, Stranger Things comes back tonight.
Yeah. We're on? Yeah, we're on.
Oh, the Jeffrey Sargent of the title, the Jeffrey Sargent Show, was standing behind Dan. Are we on? Are we on the radio?
Okay, I got a question.
Yeah, besides, did you wash your hands?
I washed my hands before I touched the fruit.
Okay, good.
God, I just got out of the restroom.
Yeah, I bought that grapefruit just for you.
Oh, good, because everything's coming out okay. Oh, Dan, open the door. We beat Dan to the radio station. Oh, my God, we're 15 minutes late. Sorry, everybody. Do I got to post this on Facebook? What do I got to do?
I can see you all with my magic glasses.
Look, we're going to pretend it's 7 o'clock.
I can see everything with my magic glasses.
I'm waiting. I got to.
Oh,
my God. I'm sitting there going, oh, Dan, open the door. I don't care about opening. They're late for the show. I got to make a turd. Let me get in there.
So I was wearing a magic
Oh, God. Okay, now listen. Everybody shut up.
Everyone shut up.
Okay, we're going to start the show like, pretend this never happened. I'm going to do my intro.
Actually,
here we go.
Dan and I began at like 2 minutes.
Here we go.
We're going to restart the show because El Comandante...
Where's the horn? What the fuck? Go. Okay.
Welcome to the apathetic Jeff Sargent show. Look it up.
Okay.
Wake your ass up, starting with Jeff. We restarted the show. Dan and I started 5 minutes ago.
Oh, good morning, everybody.
Guten Tag, you Fledermaus.
It's Fabulous Freaky Friday. Yes. Welcome to the Jeff Sargent Show, only on Chaotic Radio. Just an hour from Hollywood. What if you're from Orange County? Does it take you less time to get here? Only 40 minutes from, depending on traffic, from Orange County. If you're in Yorba Linda, Fullerton, Anaheim.
Cucamonga.
Yes, and that's where our guest is. Today we have a guest. This guy, Craig Reed, actor Craig Reed. He's been in great horror films, man. He's been in, he was on a Borg. He's one of the Borgs on Star Trek Voyager. He's also done The Reanimator. Great movie, cult movie.
It is.
What other movie? What other stuff you got there, Patrick?
I'm looking up his credits right now, and I'll give you a little whistle. Hold on.
Oh, yes, in the studio, yes. Producer Dan overslept this morning. He told me his family was getting a new car. I see this brand new Chevy truck in my parking spot. And I said, all right, Dan got a new truck, man. No more used tires, no more clankety clink clank. That car he's driving. And I was wrong. He overslept. But he brought in fresh fruit. We've got strawberries. Oh, here we go again.
Every other voice he puts on is
pineapple and
the Meryl Streep
grapefruit. Strawberry flavored sweeties. Thank you, Frankenberry.
He's your co-host.
Oh, man. Yeah. So,
the theme song is still playing.
Dan, how did that happen? You're an early bird, man. Me and Patrick waiting by the door. We beat you here, man.
I got up at 4 a.m. and I made that fruit tray that we have right out.
Did you
right
really?
outside there.
Before you went back to sleep.
Yeah, and then I
how does that happen?
I don't want to go to the studio at 5 a.m. What am I going to do with myself for 2 hours in this studio? So I said, I looked in my bedroom. My wife's laying there all nice and, warm, and I just snuggled up next to her. And, of course, my dog sleeps with us, so she's all snuggled up next to me and right in between us. And I just fell back asleep. And before you know it, it was like, almost 7 o'clock. I'm like, oh, crap, I got to get up and get out of here.
Yeah. Now, I want to know, people want to know.
He's on Westworld.
People want to know, how do we get the show? I want to know about yesterday's show on YouTube. I see this thing going on right here in front of me. I don't even know how to ascertain it. I go, talk to producer Dan. Everybody goes, where's yesterday's show? And we got to post that. What's the thing with the censors? How does it take that long?
It should be up by now. I tried it last night, like around 8 o'clock, and it wasn't on yet. So I emailed the censors, and they just have to make sure all the music that we played isn't copyrighted.
Oh, God.
And, make sure material's somewhat clean. I mean, we could say piss, cut, fuck, motherfucker, asshole. But
damn.
But we can't play copyrighted music. That's their big stick up their ass. So, and we didn't play much music.
No, those were songs. I played my song from the Cyclones, and Chris played his group.
Yeah. So I don't see why there'd be a problem. But
we only heard 2 songs, or 3 songs. Yeah, Mandy Line. We played him.
Yeah, and then I played like Sex Gang Children, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Specimen, and
Yeah, so all
unheard bands.
Yeah, unheard by that. Why is it taking so long? Yeah, I got to get these. We got to get that out, man. Because yesterday was a fantastic show, and I got to get Jamie and Chris that we got to deliver that show to them.
Yeah, Jamie and Chris each contacted me via Messenger, and I told them I'm working on it. There's not much I could do. Once we finish the show and it goes into censorship and goes into editing, it's really out of my hands until I get it back. Once I get it back, I'll give it to them right away.
Great.
Because those are two great guys.
Yes, and when he puts our show on his Aquarian Drum, their channel, it blows up. They're worldwide, of course, and they got they're gonna a lot of viewers. I mean, in the thousands.
Yeah. I should have it today when I get home because it's hard to do it on my phone. But I go to my desktop computer. It's a lot easier, and I could get it. And I could get it done, and I could call YouTube and make sure we get that show posted, and we could get it up on the air.
Thank you. Good.
So, yeah, so we'll get it. It's just, there's not much I could do. Once we do the show, and then... it's kind of goes out of my hands, and I have nothing. I could bug them all I want, and they just tell me, "Hey, hold on, we'll get to it when we get to it."
So the delay, like I'm looking at the screen now, and it's kind of delayed. But when you tune in, just listening, right? That's live.
Yeah, we got a slight delay, so we could. Drop callers, or if somebody says something racist or offensive, we could drop it. Even though I probably say the worst, I could drop myself, and you could drop me. So
never word team.
So if I use the N word, which I have before,
Nighttime.
Yeah, nighttime.
We are a morning show.
Yeah.
Wake up.
Yeah.
Wake up, Dan. You got a show to do.
Wake your ass up.
You should have called me earlier, man.
Well, I expected you to be in here like always, and I'm the one that's trying to get my shit together. Whoa! Within 15 minutes, oh God, we're gonna be on air, and like, and I of course, I put it up. I put my laptop on. I plug this in. I got my little MP3 player right here, and do my intro, and yeah.
Yeah, and I'm up, and I've got all of my stuff in. So, yeah, we're on the air, and I just don't have my phone on yet. James Harris, hey, Dan, thank you so much for inviting me to your studio. I love it. It was a great experience. Let me know the size of the drum.
Yes.
Heads you may need also if by chance you. So, yeah, James did contact me.
Okay, cool.
And he sent an attachment. So.
Attachments, yes. And our guest is on his way. He'll be here shortly. I hope that wasn't him. The cops pulled up. Every time me and Patrick leave his apartment, we cruise down Grove and like, okay, there's cops pulling over. Somebody's getting busted doing something.
It's true. Well, why is everyone getting busted in the morning?
I know. Why at 7 in the morning? That's most active. Everybody's going to work, and there's traffic, and like, okay, everybody's seeing everything that's going on. That little drive-through dairy. Remember, the cops are there with their guns, with a big hole like a can opener. It's like
they're pulling some sheepish guy with
sheet metal, and then the light is on in there, and it's got like this can opener hole in there, and they're just waiting for the guy to come out.
Yeah, like a rat.
Then that little shopping center, that little ghetto, wannabe strip mall, whatever it is, right there. They had some guys pulled over on bicycles, hands behind their back.
That is too funny.
And then right here on the corner, we're looking out, and then the cops got some guy pulled over here in the corner, Hermosa. And I said, I hope that's not our guest.
I didn't think it would be him until you said that. Now it's all I can think
He's
of.
unarmed. Get it?
Oh.
We'll talk about that when he gets in.
Oh, that was a bad joke.
That's disarming.
Yeah, it's very disarming. Yeah, man. Patrick,
I can't believe these two kiss asses made coasters of themselves. The Roy and Jimmy thing.
Yeah, that's. I thought these were real coasters, but it's just a sticker on the lid for a pickle jar or something.
Oh.
What is that? What is that? With a piece of cardboard in the back. That's pretty
I thought
cool.
The cheap bastards.
You know, we could do that with the Jeff Sargent show. With the
need
Three
to.
Amigos.
Yeah.
I see you used it for your profile.
I did.
Now, everybody that knows us knows that Dan is not the middle guy. He's the shortest one of the posse. I look like a little person, to be politically correct.
You just made a joke about a guy's arm, and now you're being politically.
Now I'm making a joke about dwarves and midgets, but they're all my friends. I know a lot of them.
I got nothing. Feels like a Monday morning.
Oh, yeah. Oh, what happened? Anything in the news, Dan? Patrick?
Well, we're talking about Halloween weekend is now upon us, which means anything cool you're going to do this weekend has to be done.
It has to be done.
The
yes.
cable channels will be full of horror movies, as will the UHF. Going to watch any horror movies? This was the weekend I lived for as a kid.
God, you know, I wish I would really like to have a Godzilla marathon, but is that going to happen?
They had one on Comet about 2 weeks ago.
Ah, caca.
You know, and as a kid, this was my favorite weekend, not just because of the whole Halloween thing. All the stations are running horror movie all the time. You know?
Oh my God, there's a zombie apocalypse outside. What was that? That was just sound effects?
Yeah.
That just scared the shit out of me, man. But zombies are friendly. Everybody loves to be zombies. Hey, look, zombies are walking the beat.
Zombies are the new vampires. And you're going to do just like you did with vampires. You're going to wear them out. A Walking Dead's already at 100 episodes. And zombies are in every commercial. They're in every show. And pretty soon, no one will give a shit about zombies.
Now people put collars around them. Let's have them as pets, you know, chain them up like Bob, you know, Bob the zombie.
Kamikaze this weekend.
Oh, yes. It's Kamikaze. Everybody's putting that. We were talking about that yesterday about the Con. Everybody wants to.
Stanley's Kamikaze. Yeah, there'll be a lot of zombies.
Who created the word Comic-Con? I mean, was that Comic-Con San Diego?
Yeah, they want to think so.
It's like they kind of own that, or what?
I just remember when you were a kid, it was a comic book convention. Remember what a big deal it was? Oh my God, Mom said I could go to the comic book convention. And after a while, it became a big thing. And then we're in Southern California where there's a convention a week. And they just became colloquially Comic Cons, you know? Because Comic Condom used to be the poly bag you put the book in. Remember that?
Yeah.
The slang and the, you know. Oh, I got to take off the comic condoms, or I can read, you know. And at a certain point, it became Comic Con, and for a while they were suing. For a while, Comic Con would sue everyone called Comic Con, and then at a certain point, it just kind of morphed, you know.
So who's going to be at the? Do you know what do you know about this one this weekend? Who's going to be there? Do you know?
Let me think.
Who's the big special guest?
Well, gee, it'd have to be 85-year-old Stan Lee.
85-year-old? No, 95.
95.
Yeah, he's up there, man. Everybody, what's he charging for those buddy shots?
$120.
$120.
Not counting a photo with him.
He's a very rich man because not only getting the pictures, it's you know what? Keep the lines down, because if it was any cheaper, I mean the line, it doesn't matter what the price is, that line's still going to go around the corner.
Stan's deal used to be he would get 10% of the opening weekend. And when Spider-Man opened to $114 million, that was a huge chunk of change. What happened is Marvel tried to avoid paying him that. You know, the producers tried to avoid paying him that. And Stan sued, and they were hoping, because he was, at the time, he was like, let's see, he's 94 now. He was like 80 then. And they thought, let's stall him out. And Stan fought him and hung in there. They were hoping they would stress him out and kill him, I think. And the fact that Stan was only 80 at the time, hung in there and got his money, you know?
Well, he is Marvel. How do you do that to the guy, the creator, the owner? And, you know.
Don't get me started. We cover comics all the time. And there's a term in comics where I don't want to get fingered on this. And it's after Bill Finger, the uncredited co-creator of Batman. Well, he was previously uncredited. Bill Finger was a writer. And because Bob Kane pretended he was underage when he created Batman.
Uh-huh.
He was actually a little older than he lets on, but he made it look like he was under 21.
Wow.
And Bob Kane got solo credit for Batman. The writer, Bill Finger, got no credit. Bill Finger died in 1974. And you don't know, if you don't know comics, you don't know who Bill Finger is. Bill Finger didn't get any credits until he was given a co-created by credit by the new DC for co-creating Batman in 2016's Batman versus Superman. That was the first time. Bill Finger's been dead since 1974.
Wow, that's a long time.
Over 40-some years, and he didn't get a credit until 2016. Batman's been around since 1939, and he didn't get a credit.
Oh, my God.
He didn't get credit until the 21st century. And so at DC and Marvel, again, I wrote for Wizard, I wrote for Marvel, you would get, I don't want to get fingered. I don't want to be a Bill Finger. Well, I remember one year, Guillermo del Toro is on Hall H, and God bless him, great guy, del Toro. Did an interview with him for Starlog.
Uh-huh.
He's not the bad guy in this. But he's on stage in Hall H, and he comes out and he goes, I am now doing Dead Man the movie, based on the old DC Comics character.
Right.
Sitting, and I thought, wow, this is a major story. And I looked around. I was in the press room, you know, and then you'd come out behind the stage. And they announced the Dead Man movie.
Right.
But they never mentioned Arnold Drake, the creator of Dead Man.
Wow.
And I go to Artist Alley after the panel. And at Artist Alley, the worst place in Artist Alley is where they park these old comic book creators in their wheelchairs with like 70s porn stars. It was the worst row at Comic-Con.
Oh, God.
Arnold Drake was sitting there sketching little Lulu on a napkin, pushing his upper plate out and sucking it back in his wheelchair.
Oh,
and I
God.
go, Arnold.
That is horrible, man.
And I go, Arnold, oh, man, because I was going to interview Arnold that weekend, and I did. I said, Arnold, you must be so excited about Guillermo del Toro doing your character. He what? Nobody told him. Nobody got him. Just sitting in his wheelchair, doing what he was doing with his teeth in Artist Alley. Nobody bothered. So I just hate the hypocrisy. We'll never see another Bill Finger. You have a Bill Finger all the time.
Yeah.
You know, there's a Bill Finger every 10 minutes. This old guy, if I knew he was there, DC knew he was there. And they left him sitting there. No,
sitting there to rot and die in his chair.
it would have cost him nothing to push him into Hall H to at least hear the announcement. And he fell and hit his head right after that Comic-Con and died. So,
God, that must have been devastating for him.
I interviewed him. I interviewed him for a magazine that's now gone, and just to see him sitting there and nobody gave a shit about telling him, you know, welcome to Hollywood, kids.
Well, oh God, yeah.
His character, they never bothered getting him. I mean, it just, you know.
So we could round them up, you know, since it's Halloween weekend, there's going to be a lot of cosplayer. There are going to be a lot, not only the cosplayer that we regularly see at the cons, but people are going to be ready for Halloween, doing the convention, still being dressed up, and then head for the parties right after the con, right?
Well, that's what I love about Southern California, because in California, You know, I do a lot of creature and effects work, you know, with these guys.
Right.
Effects parties are the best parties in the world, you know.
Oh, yeah, they could.
Rob Hall, a great guy from Michigan. Did I tell this story in the air? If I did, stop me. But Rob Hall, who runs Almost Human, they did Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel.
Oh, yeah.
I remember one year doing one of his Halloween parties, and he had this torn guy who was bitten in half in an old Sci-Fi Channel movie, Frankenfish. Rob built the Frankenfish.
Oh, yeah.
So they had a screaming man, the rubber version of him. And he was on the table. He was, you know, by the drinks.
Right.
So this screaming severed torso is there. And you would, in his rubber hand, there'd be a beer. And you'd take a beer, and he'd gimmick this rubber torso. So every time you took the beer, the next beer would roll out and land in the hand.
That is too cool,
And
man.
then, you know, under the sleeve, they put like a 24-pack. I thought that was hilarious. That to me is like...
That was pretty clever.
That is a Southern California Halloween party. You know,
I can imagine like the food dishes or things like people's cut off hands and fruit.
well, the
in a
food,
dish
there'd be severed heads and hands all around the food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm from Detroit, and Detroit would do Halloween big, and Southern California does a huge. It's weird because over here in the sticks, over here in the burbs like us, there's like one kid an hour. But if you go down to like Burbank, it's like 40 kids a minute. It's
Yeah,
really
that's
amazing.
a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of exciting. That's how it was in Detroit when I was a kid. You know, how about you in your neighborhood? How do they do Halloween?
Well, mine was in Arcadia, right down. I lived off of Holly Avenue, right down the street from Santa Anita Racetrack, and that's a real busy street and area. At that time, there were kids in every house on my street.
Wow.
Every family had 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 kids. And we all went to school together, and it was just like, wow. And every neighborhood, every street for blocks from the racetrack on all the way to Temple City. I mean, in my neighborhood, it was ding dong, ding, trick or treat, trick or treat. I mean, like you said, 40 a minute, you know, it was like, it was
And your
constant.
parents need to buy the big effing boxes.
We didn't have
Costco
time
thing.
to shut the door because more trick-or-treaters were coming.
Wow.
You know? It was pretty badass. It was pretty
And
cool.
then at the end of the night, the teenagers, including girls dressed as cats and French maids.
Yes.
I lived for that part. I lived for that part.
That was back in the razor blade and apple days. When mine.
Oh, remember?
Be careful when you get apples or fresh fruit. Like, oh, I got some healthy snacks for you. Kids, don't take unwrapped candy. It might be dosed with acid. Well, that's the kind I'm looking for, man. Yeah. I mean, even in in junior high school, man, we that's when we're terrorizing, man. We dress up and we try to get it. We actually fill a pillowcase. We don't get a little trick or treat
Yeah, we would
bucket.
fill a pillowcase. in
We'd
Michigan
get a
as well.
pillowcase. We'd come out, with about 20 pounds of candy.
Hey, how about you, Dan the Man? How was Halloween for you as a child?
As a child, it was great. We didn't use like buckets, like the little
jack-o'-lantern heads, which never worked because
we used pillowcases.
Yeah, so did we,
Yeah.
you guys.
And we would just go door to door to door to door, and we just keep walking and walking. It was back in Pomona or Cheeto, I forget which one. But yeah, those were the days where nowadays we used to run out of candy, and but last year, man, we only got like 1 or 2 trick or treaters.
Oh, that sucks because everybody's scared. Everybody's scared to trick or treat. The kids, they find the little, he's got the downtown things,
They
for
also
the
did
kids.
trunk or treat.
Yeah.
Trunk or treat where you trick or treat from car trunk to car trunk
Yeah.
at churches and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the bad thing about it is it a good? I don't know if it's a good thing.
Or that
But-
Jeff has to put a sign in his driveway so kids don't come to his door.
No, I have to eat all the leftover candy because we have so much of it.
Now, do you get something good or you cheap out and get sweet tarts?
No, I get good stuff.
Good man.
For the good kids, but when the teenagers come around not dressed up, they get the dum-dums, the sweet tarts, the crap.
Hey, the candy corn. Now, let me tell you, you're not craving. Nobody here is craving candy corn. Candy corn for vampire fangs, Candy. Who likes candy corn? Come on.
Yeah, I got 2 jars. One for the teenage kids that come around and don't dress
I wouldn't put candy corn in my worst enemy's pinata, man.
We had this a-hole neighbor in Michigan, Mr. Ward, and Mr. Ward would dress as a vampire. And when the teenagers came round, he built himself this plywood coffin. So these teenagers came round. They sat on his coffin when he pounded and screamed and cried to be let free.
Oh, God. How cruel.
Yeah. I thought that was hilarious.
Oh, God, let's sit on old man.
And when they sat on him in his vampire costume, they sat on it, drained his candy bowl, then pushed the coffin off the... he was using like those big industrial... he had 2 industrial... soap buckets like you get at Home Depot.
Yeah.
And of course, after blocking him and pounding and begging me let free, they pushed it over.
Let me out. Oh, my God. Torture the old man vampire.
And the day, remember in Michigan, the day it was like straw dogs. The day before Halloween in Michigan is Devil's Night.
Oh, wow, that's kind of cool.
And I remember my parents were out here looking for a house. We were kids. So it was my irresponsible big brother and big sister. Well, my sister was very responsible. My late great big brother, not so much. And we just went fucking wild. I mean, thank you. There was the WGPR was the black station, as they called it, because they'd show movies for the workers, for the auto workers who were getting off on swing shift.
Yeah.
So they would just basically run R-rated movies all night long.
Oh, yeah.
And it was Blackula, Scream, followed by Blackenstein.
Yeah.
And we were up at 3 in the morning. I was like 13. You know,
cool, man.
And, I mean, but there was no semblance of authority. It was like Lord of the Flies, you know? And
yeah.
And I remember in Michigan, usually around September, you unplug the hose because you could break the pipes, you know, running cold water. But you would wait. My brother Donald's kind of a dark genius. He hooked this hose up, got the hose ready, and we had the full spray on. So if somebody came by your house to egg it, you would open, once they stepped foot on your lawn, you would jump out in a mask. You would jump out, hose them down head to toe. And this is October in Michigan, so it's very cold. And once you were hit with cold water, your Devil's Night was over.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, what about teepee? Eggs and teepee or what?
Teepee, eggs. Well, and some of the rougher parts of our Sterling Heights neighborhood, some people's houses would be so thoroughly trashed that they would keep their porch light off on Halloween, which was smart, basically. It's like, bleep you. We're not going to feed the people who trashed our house.
Yeah, we're not going to. Well, it's no fun. Like, oh, nobody's home. We can't get our kicks now.
But for me, because my dad grew up poor, he was an aerospace engineer.
Yes,
he would get huge candy bars because he wanted every kid to have a good Halloween, and that's sort of how I still am. I'll get the almond full size Hershey bars.
Yeah,
I guess it's only fair. And I remember as kids, we'd have a different costume if it was a good candy. You just swap masks and walk back to the door.
Wow. What about rich neighborhoods? Do they give out nickels and dimes and quarters? I know some people that have done that up in San Marino, up in the richer area in the San Gabriel Valley. But I've always wanted to trick or treat in Beverly Hills. Does that happen?
I remember a girl asking me that. There was a girl I dated in high school, and Tammy, and she was insisting that they give out $10 bills in Beverly Hills. They don't.
U.S. savings bonds.
Tammy, I remember you saying that. I remember looking at her like she was a black helicopter enthusiast. I'm like, where did you hear that crap? Nobody's going to give you a $10 bill for coming to their porch.
Yeah. You get higher Rothschilds. We get Rothschilds candy, and we get the higher grade. You know?
Here's a Cadbury, sir.
A Cadbury, Rothschilds. What's the other one? Dove bars.
For me, it was Milky. My candy of choice. I don't know what it was with you fellas. For me, it was Three Musketeers, Milky Way,
Oh, Milky Way for sure.
and Hershey's, man. Those are my top 3. How about you guys?
Yeah, I like the Milky Way. I like Kit Kat.
Wow.
I like $100,000 bar because it's got the crisp, crunchy rice and nougat. Nougat, chewy
Nougat.
caramel.
What is nougat?
Nougat. Tiberius J. Nougat. Nougat is only found in the nougat part of a candy bar is come from the country Tiberia. It only comes from Tiberia. It's an extract, and that what makes nougat.
Wow.
I could be full of shit, man. Don't listen.
You totally are.
But yeah,
You
those
also
are,
just
I
told
like.
us, you also told us that you thought they gave out money in Bel Air. You effing moron.
No, they get fresh sandwiches, deli fresh sandwiches.
My favorite is Snickers.
Really? Snickers?
A
Yeah.
fistful of peanuts in every bar.
Yeah. Satisfying.
Satisfying. You're not you when you're hungry. That happens to me all the time.
And Reese's peanut butter cups.
Yeah, people, I wasn't so
Oh,
hot on
yeah.
that.
Oh, hell yeah. That's my jam.
When they got those little things, those are the good candies. You know, like you said, the Mars candy bar, M&M's, $100,000 bar, caramel, Milky Way, Three Musketeers, yes. Kit Kat,
Yeah.
Reese's. Those are the ones that we wanted. Chocolate. Chocolate. Jocula.
And nowadays, I like Twix, but they didn't have Twix. When
Wait,
I was
left
a kid.
Twix or right Twix?
You know, F Twix. I was up for a Twix commercial.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a Frankenstein commercial. And I'd been doing a lot of creatures, and I was sure I was going to get that sad. He tears off his arm and gives it to the little girl in the end. And when I didn't get it, it was like, F you, Twix. I'm never going to eat you again. And I haven't.
Oh, my gosh. Who got that role?
Another generic a-hole giant.
Another generic a-hole giant.
You don't hold grudges, though, do you?
No.
Hey, Mukes, if you got that effing commercial, I hate you.
Yeah, have you got that, Robert? When are we going to get that guy? We got to call him.
Oh, we're going to see him this weekend. I know he'll be a kamikaze.
I know he'll be there, and then we'll get him in a corner, and we'll say, come down to the show, bro.
Interesting, your first thought of Mukes is getting him in a corner by yourself.
Yeah. It's just like, he's a pretty badass dude. I mean, that guy's buff.
No, I like him. He's a good guy.
That guy he could throw you across the street, man. That guy is pretty damn big. And
Hey, is our guest here? I see 2 people, or is that us?
where?
On the top screen.
Where, here?
Go to the right one. Who's that? See the 2 guys? Is that us?
Where?
Oh, that's us. Yeah. Okay.
Well, those guys come. The only thing we can see is reflection off the window here,
Yeah, off the door.
the
Yeah.
door. Okay. I wonder where he is. I hope he's all right, man.
No, don't worry, man. He'll be here soon. He's getting a ticket.
Yeah, hopefully he's out in West Valley right now.
Yeah, was that him taking away the cops outside?
Oh, yeah. All right, Mr. Argumentative. You see the other cop with the taser. Light him up.
Yeah. Oh. Wait. Well, I thought he was going to get here early. He wanted to get. He's coming from Yorba Linda or
La Mirada?
Wait.
Yorba Linda, birthplace of
Did I
Richard
say
Nixon.
it's right there? Let's see where Fullerton. Where are those 3 cities that come together? Anaheim, Fullerton, and
Placentia.
Placentia.
I'm going to make myself some.
La Mirada. 57. Where the 57 and the 5 and the there's 3 freeways that cross right there. 57, the 5.
Santa Fe Springs?
57 and the 5, and one more freeway.
I don't know.
91.
Let me get out my Thomas guy.
Wait,
Oh, wait. They don't make
is
those
it past
anymore.
91, 57? I told him to take the 57 to the 10. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the easiest way to get here.
Let's see. Do I have some more? Do.
Well,
Let's see. Oh. Okay. I'm going to. Hey, Patrick, while you're in there, can you bring that dish of fruit in here? It's like and we that way we could, you know, we don't have a sexy maid to hand feed us our goodies, you know.
Although tell them
So now we got to stick our manure hooks in our own.
Apply for the job for coming on to Chaotic Radio.
Oh gosh, I should something. We're using raw fingers. I guess we should have something to wipe our hands with too.
Yeah, we have paper towels in the bathroom.
Get the paper towels for me, please.
I need the paper towels.
Here you go, you GD racist.
Yeah.
Do you want me to bring some over for you? Or?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'll sneak in there in a little bit.
All right. Hey, Patrick, peek out the door. Anything going on out there? Dan, are these blueberries from your garden?
Yes.
How do you have a garden? You live in an apartment complex that it's like all these townhouses. Is it where? Where do you grow it without all these neighbor kids picking up your garden? What?
The cops are beating up some one-armed guy in front.
Oh, what? They're beating one-armed guy out, the bandit out the.
He's insisting he didn't kill Harrison Ford's wife.
Oh my God! I'm heading for the radio station. Yeah, sure you are, buddy.
I've got 2 big patios, one in front, one in back.
Oh.
And I grow tomatoes, I grow blueberries, I grow
Wow, that's
all
amazing.
sorts of stuff. I use planters, I use a lot of things.
That's cool. You got a little. How do you grow? Is it a blueberry? Is it a bush? How come I never seen blueberries grown on the vine? What's wrong with me? I should know this.
It's a bush.
It's like a bush, a blueberry.
Yeah.
Here we go around the blueberry bush.
The blueberry bush.
What are mulberries? Is there any mulberries on a mulberry bush?
This should happen on Mulberry Street.
Yeah, I never seen a mulberry. Who ever heard of a mulberry? I've heard of snozberries.
For God's sake, don't do your Frankenberry impression again. I think I'm tired of that, and so is Dan. I'm extrapolating by Dan and I being tired of your obscure impression of a terrible cartoon character.
Hey, Dan grows his own blueberry.
Dan always grows his own blueberry. He smokes it himself.
Oh, God, I couldn't help it, man.
No, my nephews, because they're smaller, you know, they're little guys. They love coming over and just picking the blueberry. They can pick them right off the plant and eat them right there.
Right off the vine.
I don't use any insecticides. I just rinse them down every
If
day.
you did, what insecticides would you use?
Well, his
I
wife busts out the insecticide as soon as Dan leaves.
Yeah.
No, she sprays that on me. But no, I don't spray my fruit with any insecticides.
Yeah.
So what was your go-to Halloween costume, guys? Dan back in the leg braces and
Oh, God, what did you dress up when you were all Forrest Gumped out, man?
I don't think I did. I think I just stayed home.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Probably for the best.
That's the best idea ever.
Probably
you know?
for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you would get ridiculed and tortured because kids are cruel. We were very cruel kids when we were young.
No, I just remember being on the playground and having this guy. I remember his name. His name was Mark, and he would just push me down every time I'd go into the playground. And then I'd get back up, and it took me a while with my leg braces to get back up. And then I'd get back up, and I'd start walking towards the classroom, and then he'd come by, and he'd push me down again.
You know what you should have done if you got him down and then stick the bar, if you had on each side of his head on his neck, so he couldn't get up. That would be a good thing.
That'd be
Dan's
very
been wondering-
Halloween-ish.
We could put that in our
Dan's
movie.
been wondering for years what happened to his old friend Mark Wahlberg. I'm sure time has punished him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were kind of asking for it that year. You went dressed as Fonzie.
Hey. Stick his thumbs up in the air. Fonzie's cool, not a square.
Are you doing is that the Fonzie action figure theme song?
Yes, that was the Fonzie action figure theme song.
It was the only Mego that had thumbs up action.
Yeah, thumbs up. You could flip his thumbs up, and
Unlike
then you
Big
push
Jim,
on his back, and then he goes, "Hey." Yeah, just like the Disney Tarzan when you.
Oh, yeah. The Walt Disney Tarzan with the jacking actions.
They did that on purpose, didn't they?
They had to have. I gave that to my sister's kid, And she and I are watching him play with it, and Tarzan only makes it yell by doing this.
Yeah. Oh.
And yeah, he'd do that 1 minute of that bellowing and going like that, and then 10 minutes of shame.
We used to do that on the playground. We used to sing songs.
Oh, you were jacking
we'd
it
climb
while
on the
sing-
monkey bars,
Wait, you would sing while jacking it?
and we would sing. Tarzan swings, Tarzan falls, Cheetah catches him by the balls. Now we know what Tarzan yells. Oh!
Wow,
That's a pretty good Tarzan.
We would sing
He
that.
would sing that every time he pushed you down, Dan.
We'd sing that every time we pushed you
He'd
down.
change his name and moved it.
That's like the Carol Burnett used to do. Great Tarzan.
Oh, God. Yeah.
The Carol Burnett show is great. Back in the day.
They're rerunning it on Channel 56, on Comet TV.
Well,
Not Comet TV, Me TV.
They're always advertising those half-hour commercials for those
Yeah,
box sets for
yeah.
TV shows.
Nobody buys those. I mean, you know what I mean?
I hope not.
Dean Martin roast.
They're like 100
Yeah.
years old. Remember the Dean Martin roast? One of my professors in college, one of his jobs was editing the Dean Martin roasts. He was an old guy, but very sweet. And he said his job in the Dean Martin roast was to take episodes where nobody laughed and cut to the one time they laughed. The Muhammad Ali one, I guess he was very famous for not laughing and didn't have a good time. And he said they had one shot of Muhammad Ali laughing, and they just cut to that again and again throughout the episode.
Ah, that's cool, man.
Have you guys ever been in a roast or been roasted?
Have you ever been roasted?
No, I haven't. Maybe I did on my 35th birthday party. That was where did I have that? Oh, yes. It was at Tropical Mexico down in Chino.
That's a great place.
Or is it Pomona? It's like on the Pomona boundary of Chino.
It's right where I grew up, right around there.
Yeah. Got a little bit of farm acreage and industrial and before it goes into the track home.
Weirdly enough, where you grew up is where one of Jeff's very best friends lives, some guy named Mark.
Bastard.
Son of a bitch.
Or is he called poor Dan the Man? Stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself.
Yeah, grabbing his hand.
Stop jerking yourself.
Yeah. Put him in a headlock. Say uncle. Say uncle. Twist your arm.
Yeah, why you punch yourself in the balls? Why you punch yourself in the balls?
Nobody told you to make a fist every time, Dan.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know any better. No, growing up was very challenging.
It sounds like the weird, terrible thing is your parents. Oh, our guest is here. Yeah.
Oh, my God. Wait. Open the door. Get the door. Our guest is here.
Mark, get over here.
Craig Reed is here.
Craig Reed is here. Sorry.
Right. Clap your hands, everybody. He is here with his trademark Hawaiian shirt. He does all his public appearances in his Hawaiian shirt because he is a surfer. He does. He surfs a longboard.
Oh, no.
Now, let's clue our listeners in. Mark,
and put him right there on that mic, right next to Jeff. Don't use mic 3.
well, what, this one?
Yeah, use
Wait. 1, 2, 3. You want
4. You have
mic
him use
number
4.
4. Okay, microphone number 4. Now, let's clue everybody in here. You saw the what we put on Facebook last night. We had pictures of him from Reanimator and Voyager. You might notice that he is missing his right arm. You are left-handed, aren't you?
Well,
Yes.
You're a fucking
Well, we saw the cops.
Here, let me switch up.
We saw the cops outside. Every morning we see cops pulling people over. And I go, I hope that's not our guest. And I said, I hope he's unarmed. He's. Okay, speaking to the.
Can I still look at resumes, Craig?
Right there. Thank
Good
you.
morning, Craig Reed.
Good morning to you guys. How are you doing?
All right,
Honored to see
man.
you, Sarah. Can I borrow that resume so we can start throwing questions at you?
Ah, yes.
Oh, you already have that?
I saw the IMDb one, but I'd love to see that.
Now-
This is exec producer Dan the Man Rupp.
Thank you.
The cool thing is that Mr. Reed here, he brought a lot of his arm prosthesis and arms that he's used in movies, bloody arms, getting his arms ripped off.
Thank you, sir.
He is a performer with disability. Now, Craig, how long did you lose your arm as a child?
Yes, I did.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was 20 months old, and I fell out of a car crawling over from the back seat to the front seat in either a Chrysler or a Dodge with the suicide doors.
Oh, my gosh.
And my cowboy jacket, I was climbing over from the back seat to the front seat, and I was always very active, and my leather jacket, it was baggy sleeves, and it caught the door handle, and the door handle pushed forward to open it. With the suicide doors, as soon as the door was unlocked, the air pulled the door open, and I went flying out and hanging by my cowboy jacket, and was
Wow.
dragged and bounced around like a tetherball on the asphalt. So I should have become road pizza then, but my cowboy jacket saved me.
Damn.
And it was out here in Riverside. You know, just
Oh, my God.
Because we're in Rancho Cucamonga.
We
right?
are, sir. The glorious Ranger
Okay,
Cucamonga.
okay, so that's
Craig Reed?
cool. And so they took me to the hospital. I was in there for a week, but in 1950, they didn't have any microsurgery and stuff, and my arm was kind of like rubbery because your bones are not fully firmed up at 20 months old, because
Right.
that's under 2, as I recall in my great math, and so they had to amputate it because I got blood poisoning.
Oh, wow.
So I'm a walking miracle twice.
Wow. That's amazing.
And then I have another story from surfing, but that's a whole nother deal.
Now he loves sharks. We were talking about, we had another surfer here yesterday.
Oh,
Pat's a big fan of sharks, and he loves shark stories.
okay.
Yeah, give us your best shark story.
Well, it's not a shock story, but it's at the Huntington Beach Pier. And I was, probably almost 17, and I had a 61 Falcon white station wagon, blue interior, white.
Sweet.
Deluxe.
That's a great surfmobile right
Oh,
there.
yeah. And we used I had all my surfboard stickers on the back window, you know, just like the Woodies do. And I was down, it was in probably October, November, but it was when it was really overcast. And I was out there by the pier, and it was big south swell, and they were starting to wall up. Not before I got out there, but after I got out there, like a knucklehead, I was out between the lifeguard tower and the end of the pier. And and I kept on just barely making it over the waves. And when I got out to the farthest outside wave and looked over, the fog kind of rose a little bit, and I can see it was just a big wall. There was no way to make it out of it. It was just a typical Huntington Beach 10-foot walls that looked like 100 feet when you're on top.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And so I started paddling to get over another wave, and I just barely made it. And then another one, the way they come up, sometimes they come up slow, and then all of a sudden they hit the sandbar, then they jump up it seems like 5 or 100 feet. And so I started to take off, and then it just walled up, and I tried to pull over, and I went over the waterfalls. I hit the bottom with my feet. The time I came back up, I was all in the foam and coughing and choking, and I could see my board at the beach, just rolling up into the beach.
Right.
And so I turned around, and there was another wave coming down, and it was just breaking on top of me. So all I did, I just stiffened up like a board and a couple of waves, I finally got in there. And then after I got into shore, I grabbed my board, stuck it in my car, and I didn't even look back. I usually get up a hamburger and a malt, stick the malt between my legs, and eat the hamburger and drive with my elbow.
Damn.
And it was a stick shift.
Wow.
Man.
And then I always get the thing, well, how do you paddle out with one arm? And I tell them, well, I have to paddle harder because I go in big circles, ever widening circles. And I said, no, I just paddle underneath the board straight, just like you would do anything. You just compensate.
Right, right.
And the biggest traumatic thing for me growing up was when I turned in my mid-40s and I had to wear glasses. That was more traumatic than anything I experienced because I was so young, so I just grew up with it, just like anything else.
Right.
So Craig,
So that's how you do.
because when you grew up without your arm, you learned to compensate, and it was never a big deal then.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And I had, I wish I still had it because it would be a cute collector's item. I had, probably when I was about 2.5 or 3, they gave me a prosthetic arm from the Children's Hospital in Los Angeles, which is off of the 110 freeway. And I had that for about 6 months, and then I outgrew it. And I think we returned it back to him, but I wish we would have.
I was just going to ask that. I mean, as you're growing older and getting larger, you have to resize your arms.
Oh, absolutely. And it's just like shoes. When you're growing, you have to get arms. And then when I was about, in 4th or 5th grade, I was pretty progressive in being interested in girls. So about the 4th or 5th grade, I decided I needed an arm. And so I worked at UCLA Prosthetics and Orthotics group, which was in the basement of the UCLA hospital. And from about 4th grade through high school, I worked with John Bray, who was the director of the Prosthetics Orthotics School. And when it was down in the basement of a hospital is usually where they have the morgue. So any surgeries that didn't go perfectly well and they wound up in the basement with a sheet over them, I would always see this. So I was exposed to, the things that people do get exposed to, but I was, it was a great experience learning the different, human characteristics and human psychology and learning how to deal with people and different personalities and caustic personalities and people and stress and everything else. So that helped me all through my, I said I had probably a PhD in human psychology just
from experience.
Experience,
yeah.
Yes. And so it was a great learning experience. And then when I got out of college and going through school, I started out as after I graduated from La Habra High School in Orange County, and I live in Orange County, so I didn't fall too far from the tree.
Right.
I was born in Whittier Murphy Memorial Hospital, same hospital my dad was born in Uptown Whittier.
Wow.
And it's now part of the Whittier College. And so I didn't have enough room, as you can see, with my cart and all my baggage. I didn't bring my loincloth and spears, being a native Californian.
Yeah.
Well, but now tell us, Craig, when did you realize you could work in Hollywood with your thing?
Oh, that's a good question. My first job in Hollywood was because it was through UCLA Prosthetics Orthotics. One of the producers or casting directors were looking for amputees for a movie.
Baby Blue Marine?
Baby Blue Marine.
Wow.
And so that was the first time I was introduced to the movie business, and I reported to the Paramount Studios in Hollywood, And so they fixed us up. I was a corporal. I played a corporal. And the set was not on the Paramount Studio lot, but that's kind of my alma mater because I've done a lot of stuff.
You did a ton of Star Treks over there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know you did Reanimator across the street, right?
I did that. Well, it wasn't quite across the street. It was off the 101 freeway at the Mary Pickford Studios.
Oh, you did. Okay, let's start with Reanimator because that's where your career really began.
That's when the Reanimator, when my horror picture, that was my first horror picture I did.
Is that you killing Barbara Crampton at the end of the movie when they tear your arm off?
Yes, it was chopped off by Bruce Abbott.
Yeah, Bruce Abbott playing Dan Kane.
That's right.
You killed the lead girl in the. By the way, you've had 32 years to see Reanimator.
Not quite necessarily, and they didn't quite kill me off. And I thought, oh my, since they didn't quite kill me off, he chopped my arm off and shoved me out of the elevator.
But you're the one who chokes her out.
Huh?
You're the one who's killing her when.
I choke her, and Bruce Abbott. They just come. It was kind of a takeoff from Psycho in the shower scene.
Yeah.
And as soon as the whole thing was, they called us reanimated corpses, but now they call them the Walking Dead, the zombies. So now I'm referred to as the zombie, or the one-armed burnt corpse, or AKA the burn victim, or the strangler of Megan.
Oh yeah, you killed him. Wait, because I've covered that movie for Fangoria. So let me, I did a reunion piece on it. What was Stuart Gordon, the theater director, like? Did you like the film director Did you like Stuart Gordon?
Do I like Stuart Gordon?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was wonderful. I can tell you a quick story on that.
Please.
Yeah.
And offer the guy approval.
Do we have the 5-day part, or do you want me just a 3-day part? No. Stuart Gordon, I came in there to audition with him, and he had a couple of his minions in there. I didn't know who they were, but I came in there, and I had a long-sleeve shirt on with my prosthesis and my artificial hand. And I looked around, and there wasn't any dialogue for me. So I said, well, what do you want me to do? He talked and introduced himself, did just a brief get-to-know-you thing. And then he said, what I want you to do is scare me. Do whatever you want to do and try to scare me. And so I'm thinking, my gosh, here's the director, and he wants me to scare him. I used to scare the hell out of my brother, but my brother is not the Stuart Gordon who was doing a lot of plays in New York, and this was his first horror movie. Oh. And so I said to myself, okay, what am I going to do? And then the light bulb went on, started flickering in my head. And so I said, okay, Stuart, get ready. And so I just came up, I raised my arm, and I put both of my hands on his neck, and I started choking him and screaming in his face and giving all the blood-curdling monster things I could come up with. And I did that it seemed like for 5 minutes, but it was probably maybe for less than 30 seconds. And then I backed away, and I just stared at him. And he said, "You're hired."
Wow.
Yeah. Right on.
And did they add the beard on you? Did you have the big straggly homeless man beard?
Yeah, that's the blood, the Hollywood blood makeup and the
John
black
Biegler
makeup, and then the glycerin is what they did to make it look like I was burned, like a charcoal barbecued.
You look amazing in it. Yeah.
And it just worked out really nice. But it took about 4 hours in makeup, and my costume was shredded up Levi pants. Now, most everybody else was had to be naked because usually in the morgue, they take all the clothes and they put you in the ice box, and you don't have a tuxedo on. You usually they take all your clothes off so they can clean you up and do whatever. And I said, well, I'm not gonna, I would clear out the whole place, and they'd probably go out of the theater screaming if they saw me naked. So what they did, they gave me a modesty Levi pants, and it was all shredded up, and half of me was burned up because I was either doing something, either doing drugs or whatever it was. That was never really the background. They just said, you're burned on half the side of you. And
Yeah, that makeup was great. I mean, just a charred, crispy critter.
oh,
Pretty
yeah.
scary. It was pretty scary looking.
Oh, it scared my kids and my wife. Anytime I'm doing any blood stuff and movie horror or whatever, she just doesn't like it because she sees me in there. And I said, hello, I get a paycheck. If it doesn't look like I'm acting, I'm doing my job, and they rehire me for something else. So I said, that's the sign of a good actor when it doesn't look like you're acting.
And you're in that with Peter Kent, who was Arnold Schwarzenegger's stunt double. He's the big naked guy.
Okay.
The muscle
Oh,
man.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
I didn't know who that was.
He was a stunt double, and I think he did it for David Gale, who's since passed away. I did a lot of between scenes in the 25th anniversary of the Reanimator. It was in a lime green like the Reanimator juice, and I've got that CD on there, and then half the CD is with Bob Sampson, me, and the stills that the still photographer did on set. So they used that, and then they did a lot of background stuff. So if you get the anniversary set, you see a lot of me in there, Bob Sampson and David Gill behind the scenes, between takes when the still photographer was there. And Bob Sampson was like Leslie Nielsen, a crack up comedians, and David Gill. We had to, they just had me laughing all the time, and it just kept us, kept us cool and calm for, doing the scenes, which were, pretty, well, it was tongue in cheek, but, the movie, it wasn't meant to be a serious monster movie, but it was like the cross between Chainsaw Massacre and Killer Tomatoes, because there was a lot campy, light, they had to throw in some humor because it was just so gruesome.
And
at that
dark.
time.
He murdered the
But
female
Jeffrey
lead.
Combs was so serious. His
Did
character.
you like him? He's
Well,
in,
he told.
He
There's a story about that. He looked at the script with Bruce Abbott, and they were good friends. And he says, looking at the script, in 1985, he said, "Man, we've got to lighten this up because it's just too gruesome, and we need a little levity in here." And so that's what they tried to do throughout the thing. And Barbara Crampton, Bruce Abbott, Bob Sampson, and David Gill, they were all just great to work with. I loved working with them. And we worked on the Son of Monsterpalooza last July in Burbank. They had a reunion panel, and John Nolan, who was the makeup, special effects, and makeup artist.
oh, John Biegler.
Yeah, John.
Oh
Nolan.
yeah.
He did all my makeup and prosthetics, and we went to see because I saw him there, and we went on Saturday, me and my business partner, just to say hi, and because I didn't get in there enough to do my signings because I started doing that, and I do it at the Hollywood show, at the Westin in by LAX. And so we went in there to see John Nolan, and when he saw me, I hadn't seen him for probably 25 years.
Oh wow.
Because that was the last time I worked with him was on the Reanimator. And so when I saw this reunion, I wanted to see him and maybe see some of the Bruce Abbott and Barbara and Jeff. And so when he saw me, he says, "Oh, how you doing?" We started talking. He said, the reunion panel is on Sunday. Can you come back Sunday?" And I said, "Sure, why?" He said, "I want you on the panel." So I took, I had Chris Seaton, who's my business partner. He does restorations, and he restored and redid a mannequin. And at the end of the movie, John Nolan gave me my costume. And so he did the Reanimator costume for me for the burn victim.
Wow.
And he did it exactly like John did it in the movie with the same techniques. And
Wow.
he did it on a mannequin, then put my...
That's not easy to do. When you
No, it isn't. And it takes quite a while. And so what he did was he did it just exactly like he researched it and did it just like John Nolan did. And then he put my Levi's on, and then the extra parts of the Levi's and the prosthetic that we couldn't use for the mannequin display. He said, Craig, why don't you use these things? I mean, we can make some plaques and put them on display, and make them a collector item because they'll all be uniquely separate, and you can autograph them and number them from 1, 2. We figured we had enough pieces to do maybe 100 or less, depending on what they wanted. If they want a piece of the prosthetic or a piece of the costume. And then we put a picture of one of the reanimator scenes that I did, and a syringe with the
green
the
fluid.
reanimator juice.
Yeah, I didn't bring any of those pictures in, but at another episode we could do that. And so he created all this stuff, and so we use them at the Hollywood show and some of the other shows I'm trying to get into. My signing agent submitted me for the Las Vegas show for Star Trek coming up in August of 18.
Yeah, the Rio.
And so I'm just waiting to see if I get on there, because some of the people I worked with, Tracy Coco, who was one of the damaged Borgs on Star Trek Next Generation, she worked with me. And so we've been trading pictures, because I got a picture of her and me as damaged Borgs up against some rocks in a cave that we were in. And so I signed it, and then one of my guys that fans said, well, I'm going up to Vegas and I'm going to get her to sign it. So he took it up last August to Vegas, because I didn't get in there in time to do it. And so he had her sign it, and then she said, oh, tell Craig hi for me. So we get in communication with our fan base too, which is funny.
But let me ask you, last question, Reanimator.
Yeah.
Was it fun? Tell us about you and Barbara shooting you or murdering her through the elevator door, because that's one of the most terrorizing scenes.
That's a classic scene right there. Everybody knows that. That's like
the big finish.
Oh, yeah. Well, that took, just to give the background on it, we were shooting I worked on it from either maybe Wednesday or Thursday and Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And so they were running out of budget. And so Monday morning, they had to turn in all their cameras. And so they were basically running 24 hours a day to get all the stuff in the can.
Wow.
And so the deal was I had to come in there like 3 o'clock in the morning. It took 4 hours in makeup and to get the costume. Well, the costume was small. I mean, I was like a bikini bottom, basically. And with my little undies, and that's all on my recreated costume on my mannequin, which I call the better half. And I take with me to all the shows and stuff I go to.
Okay, I've got a quick question. This is coming all the way from Illinois.
Oh, sure. Hi.
She wants to know, do you prefer horror or sci-fi or thrillers?
I prefer them all, especially when I get hired and I get a paycheck. And the craft service is good.
Good
I've
answer.
never had bad craft service.
Yeah. Well, there's one thing about craft service. If you've ever seen, not the women never gain weight unless they're pregnant and they hide it, like they did on Blue Bloods with Tom Selleck and his assistant. Because last season she was pregnant, and this season she's nice and thin again, so they were hiding their belly because she was pregnant, if you didn't know that. And I love Tom Selleck. He's one of my favorite lead actors, and I consider him a great character actor because he started out as a dead person in his first movie.
That's exactly right. In coma. Tom Selleck is one of the corpses hanging in coma.
Yes.
Wow.
Whoa.
Have you talked to him? Was he cool? Was he cool? Did you meet him on set?
No, I did. I watched him on TV. I wasn't in that movie, unfortunately. But my wife just loved him on Magnum PI, and we watched him all the time. And yeah, that's one of her heartthrobs.
Yeah,
And,
I actually met him once. He loves the Sierra Nevada. If you ever go to Bishop, every restaurant has a picture of Tom Selleck.
Oh, yeah.
Bishop, California, which is like...
Sign it, autograph to every restaurant and convenience store.
Yeah, he's
Oh, yeah,
like everywhere.
absolutely. It's
And he loves it up there.
he's great, but I digress. I love the horror only because of all the creativity and the characters that they give you leeway. The directors, because a lot of times they don't know what they want until they see you, and so you take a few times and do some rehearsals, and even at the auditioning, like with Stuart Gordon on The Reanimator, you improvise and you do what you can do. The best advice I can give to any actor that I've taken from a lot of acting classes I took, and I won't take any more because it all comes back to the same thing. It's got to be your personality, and it's got to be you making the character live. And if you do that, and coming from your own personality and how you feel you should do, that's what you have control over. So that's what you do. And if they like it, they like it. And if they don't, you've done your best. And as long as it doesn't look like acting, then you've really got your own Oscar for that casting session. So, and that goes with almost anything that you do, and even in life, you've got to just do your best and live by the golden rule. Treat others like you want to be treated, and life is a much better and a lot sweeter and a lot better on your wife and family and friends.
Well, now let me ask you, because you were talking about
Okay.
that big finish with Barbara Crampton. Tell us about that.
Okay, with Barbara Crampton in the last final scene, we were in the elevator, and I come in as the doors are closing, and then I have the limb that they're going to chop off, and then I was able to raise it and stick it on her neck and do the screaming and strangling. And this took hours. We were in there for, like I said, I was in I had to report to makeup at 3 o'clock in the morning, and we didn't start shooting that scene until midnight
What?
Saturday morning, midnight.
Wow.
And so the arm and the hinge, to break away when he did the axe, it kept on, kind of disemboweling before we were ready to do it. So they had to glue it firmly. And so, I was screaming and I was doing this. Kind of like a chainsaw. Remember that? Okay, that was that's all me. And when they do that, I had laryngitis for a week after that because I did it.
Well, how many takes does it? I mean,
Well, they were doing, they were shooting with different cameras from different angles. From the backside, from the sun, and then they had a false floor on it because what they were going to do, Gordon was going to have Bruce Abbott come in, chop my arm off with the hacks at the elbow, and show the whole thing. And the elbow kept on falling apart when I was choking Barbara, and so they had to cut, and then they had to fix it, and so that's why it took all night, and about 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning from 12 to 9. It was about 9 hours shooting that scene, at least, maybe a little more, I don't know, because by that time we were both frazzled, but when we were breaking and stuff, they brought in her a chair, and then she said, to the set people that were doing all that stuff, "Where's Craig's? And bring him water too."
Wow.
So
God bless her.
she watched over me too, And I was, I was on, I wasn't even the A, B, or C list actor. I was, down there on the other, but I played a key role, and when I auditioned for it, I didn't know what he was going to put me into.
Wow.
But Stewart had an idea once I got to Park what he was going to do with me. And so, but he didn't tell me until later on during the shoot of exactly what I was going to be doing. And so I was just giving my best the whole time there, so I could, make sure that he was happy with what I was doing, and obviously he was. So it worked out great. But that scene, yeah, like I said, it took 9 to 10 hours once we got around to it, and what they did, since they glued it and they couldn't chop it with the axe because they tried to do it and they forgot that they glued it, and so it wouldn't chop.
Wow.
And so what they did, they just cut away. And so he had the axe coming down, and then he had a guy with a garden sprayer shooting the blood up against the wall of the elevator.
Wow.
And then they showed the arm dropping because they took my part of the arm that I was wearing, and then they threw it down on the ground so it was bouncing around. Then they had a false floor in it, and they had a stand-in right arm for me that came up and went up through the arm and started doing all the things.
Yeah,
with the
because it
right
crawls
arm.
away after
I'm
they
doing
throw
my
it.
left arm here,
Wow.
but it was
This
the
is
right
all
arm.
real physical effects, man.
Well,
Yeah.
pre-digital.
I'm going like, yeah, that, it happens so fast. We're watching, we're just being so shocked, being grossed out, going, it just doesn't even enter our minds what's going through, what's you're going through.
All the work that goes into it is pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's a team effort, and that's why I like, because you've got the directors, you got the producers that bring the money and bring all the stuff together so you can do it and finance it. You got all the cinematographers, the lighting, the grips.
The beautiful actress?
Huh?
The beautiful half-naked actress?
Oh yeah. Barbara
Smiles.
Crampton. Oh, but no, she very classy and very just first class. Everything she does. She was probably the most had the most brass balls of everybody, because she did a lot of nude scenes because they had her on an autopsy table.
Right.
Yeah.
And she wasn't in a formal gown, but she was a real trooper, and it wasn't any gratuitous. I wouldn't say, some people would say gratuitous skin, but it was really part of the storyline and the whole script of how things were going and how they needed to do it to make it look real. And David Gill is just the nasty, mean, degenerate doctor, the villain of the
Wonderful.
whole show.
I like that scene where the head's cut. He's grabbing the head. His head's cut off, and he's grabbing it, and he's got her strapped down there, and he's gonna go between her legs and try to.
Yeah, that's a little more than PG, but
Yeah.
it's good and plenty. But it was funny. It was very good though.
Now,
What was the next one?
My big question for you is, how did the Borg come your way? Because that one of the most famous, popular aliens of Star Trek Next Generation, which you started on.
Yeah.
Tell us how you got a Borg, because Mike Westmore told me the first thing you needed for a Borg was a strong bladder, because you were going to be in that outfit all day.
That's very true. They
I
told
didn't
us
even
don't
think
drink, don't drink, or drink very little. And what they did, this was done at the Paramount Studios on the sound stage just down below Michael Westmore's office.
Stage 16.
Yes,
Pun and hell.
absolutely.
Stage 16. How do you do that?
I didn't remember, but thank you. Jeff told me that you would have some of my answers if I forgot.
Oh,
So I
sorry,
really
yeah.
Yeah, I
appreciate
tell
it.
you, he knows every producer, every building, everything
Yeah.
from every movie.
Oh, Michael Westmore is a prince, and we've done some other things, and I have other stories to tell with him. But he did all my special effects, my prosthetics, and my makeup on the Borgs for Star Trek Next Generation and Voyager. And like I told you before, Tracy Coco was one of the Borgs, and she was also a regular, and she played one of the Star Trek officers. I forget her name. It was Lieutenant. I forget what class she was, but she played a lot of Borgs, humanoids, aliens, anything that they needed to do when she wasn't doing her lieutenant on the on the Star Trek ship. And so we got to play together as damaged Borgs that the Borgs either, I forget what the background was, but I think it was either we got blown up by the starship, or they were working on us, bringing us back from some other alien into a Borg and to go into the hive.
Wow.
And so that's what that was all about. And how I got into it was based kind of like with, I think it was Central Casting at the time. And this needed some amputees for Star Trek. And I said, ooh, I'll go and audition. And so they sent me in there, and it was Michael Westmore that I auditioned for, and he looked me over, he saw that I was amputee, and saw some of my background on my resume, and talked a little bit, and said, okay, you're hired, go down to costume. And that was another one, and that's how I started it. And then I did Borgs, aliens, and humanoids, and Species 10026 on Star Trek Voyager with Jerry Ryan.
Wow.
Yes, oh, the lovely Jerry Ryan.
All right, tell us about Jerry Ryan.
Yes, more Jerry Ryan stories.
For the listeners at
and
home.
that skin-tight outfit.
For the listeners at home, Craig smiled and nodded his head at the mere mention of her. Go on.
Oh, she's another first-class lady. And the scenes I had with her was they were trying to Borgatize me, and I was Alien 10026, and I had a family, a boy and a girl and a wife, and so we were trying to escape from the Borg cube. And so Jerry Ryan was talking to the queen of the hive and said, why are you, let these people go. They've done nothing to you. And, that was all part of the story. And she wasn't too sure. And so Jerry got in a big huff and went down to where they were trying to put me into the Borg hive and putting on a new Borg arm and all this kind of stuff. And so she came in there and said, you're not doing it. And she did her magic. And so they broke away and they put me in one of the shuttles with my family. And so I thought I'd be in the next episode or something, with the family. But the writers never did that. So I had the one episode with Jerry Ryan. And anytime they broke, because, they shoot it from different angles. So it was like, 4 or 5 hour or more scene, when they were taking it and her walking in and walking out and me struggling and all the stuff with the other Borgs that were trying to work on me, and then freeing me and getting through and, getting on the shovel and being on the transporter, and then they, transport you and they vaporize you into the transporter and all that good stuff. So
you were in the transporter. You were beamed in.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah.
All they do is stand there and you say, we're going to be transporting you. Feel good. And so you, I'm feeling good. and then they do the CG magic, and it was just, it's just great. I love being a character actor. I like it better than, and when I play one of the A-list actors, I will give them a compliment. And I've never met Tom Selleck, but if I do, I will tell him, because even though he's an A-list actor, he is like a character actor because he gives so much. And a lot of the actors that I have worked with are A-list actors. I consider them like character actors because they support and they do so much to gel and make the A-list actors look like stars. And that's one of the great things with a lot of the good character actors. They make everybody look good because they bring some meat and character. That's why they call them character actors to either a movie or a TV show. And so that's why I'd rather be a character actor and than anything else in the world as doing this.
Okay, a quick question here.
Sure.
This comes from Costa Mesa.
Oh, okay.
Okay, he wants to know, do you still surf? And if so, what is your favorite Southern California surf spot?
Old Man's.
Locals only, man.
Old Man's, yeah.
Old Man's
down
in
there by
San
San
Clemente.
Onofre or San Clemente.
When I was in high school, we had the
Trestles.
trestles. We had to sneak through there at what they called the swamp, and we had to sneak our boards in there and wait in the swamp. And I think the Marines knew we were there because they would just play head games, and they'd come with their Jeeps and they'd run up and down the beach, and then we'd run in the water, and so they wouldn't catch us. I only did that once, and it was just too much traumatic because I didn't want the Marines, if they caught your board, you'd take it on the beach and they'd run over it with a Jeep.
Oh, that ain't cool, man.
That's messed up.
That is
But
messed up.
I'd rather have my stick ripped, man, than damage my board.
but what I did, there was a knucklehead out there that would taunt them, and I would just wave to them. And being an amputee, they didn't know if I was from the
Service.
He's a
service or
vet.
not.
He's a vet,
And
man.
so
Let him surf, bro.
They just they never screwed with me. And so, and I never said anything because I wasn't, since I lost my arm when I was 20 months old, it was kind of hard to, recruit me or be in the service. But they did try to draft me, and that's another story
Wow.
to go on to. But the surfing San Clemente, Old Man's. I learned how to surf at Huntington Cliffs when they used to have wooden oil derricks out there back in the late 50s, early 60s, and when Gordy had his board shop out there on Pacific Coast Highway, basically between the pier and the cliffs, and when I was about 16 or almost 17, I bought my Gordy board, and he shaped it. It was called a nose rider, but I didn't have it. I didn't have the concave underneath the nose. It was a 10-4, 3/4-inch redwood stringers with a green
Single skag?
Single skag, and I have that, and I had 2 Gordy stickers on it, but I had them cut out the interior, so it was just the pinstripes outside of the Gordy stickers, 2 of them, on my board because I wanted something different. Not that I wasn't different enough, but that's how I was. I always liked to.
Those are collector boards now, You can't.
about 15 years ago, I was down at Bill Stewart's shop in San Clemente, and I had taken it down there because my mother-in-law, my father-in-law passed away, so the family would use the motorhome and go down to San Clemente and camp. And so I had my little Courier pickup, 72 Courier pickup with a camper shell. Me and my wife used to sleep in there, and all the kids slept in the motorhome. What was wrong with that picture? I don't know, with my mother-in-law. And so anyway, I took my board. I had my racks on my little truck, and so I had my Gordy, and I went down to Bill Stewart's shop, and I said, I want you to build me another hydro hole. And so he came out and said, you're not riding that Gordy, are you? And getting it dinged up. He said, that's a classic board. And he said, do you want to sell it? And I said, no. And I said, how much is it worth? And it was probably about 15 years ago. He said, well, it's about $1,500 then. Wow. So now it's,
It's up there. Now it's a trophy board.
It is a trophy board.
You could display that in your...
And I have a 7.6 Petrillo that was built in Newport Beach, and I did that after I got my Gordy, because Gordy, running at Huntington Beach, it was just, it was kind of like a battleship. And so I wanted a smaller board, so I got a Petrillo 7.6 with a single black skag, so when it flipped over, it looked like a shark fin. and it was yellow with black pinstriping on it, and I still have that one. And then I got the 10-foot, 9-foot Bill Stewart hydro hull, and that is the greatest board. It's a 9-foot, and it rides like I can do nose riding on that, and it rides like a short board on the hydro hull if you're on back end on it. And it's just a great board, and Bill Stewart is one of the best guys around.
Okay.
There you go, Costa Mesa. Wow.
Yeah.
How do you like that?
Yeah, we'll
That's
see you
good.
down at the beach, man. We'll see you. We'll see you at 56th Street, Newport.
Yeah, it's
When I'm
Bert.
surfing,
Bud Gnarly.
That's Bert Williams.
when I'm
by
surfing,
the
you
way.
can't miss me. I'm the only surfer out there with one arm,
By
and,
the
and it's
way,
the left arm.
And they all say, "Did you get bitten by a shark?"
I use that.
Yeah, his name was Bruce.
I use that for a pickup line, but and then when the girl said, "Oh,
Man, you're so
yeah,"
badass.
and then I said, "No, I'm not. No, I lost it." And I gave him the real story, and then they fall all over me. "Oh, you poor thing," and they kiss me on the cheek, and I loved it.
now, I took a sneaky peek at the arm.
Okay.
Are you going to unveil that?
Is that your reanimator?
Oh
arm?
yeah. No, this is the reanimator arm. I have pictures
This
of that.
the wrestling. What movie was the
Because we're on
Spy
He was
Hard
arm
with-
wrestling.
Spy Hard with Leslie Nielsen.
Spy Hard? Leslie Nielsen. Oh, let's hear about this movie.
Okay, well, I'm unwrapping this. This was my stunt arm that I did, and
From the Poo-Poo Planet, too.
you got all your food out here, all for your craft services. And okay, for Spy Hard with Leslie Nielsen,
Wow.
just watch the when I was using that. Yeah, it's a foam arm, and when I was doing my high falls, because I'm stunt trained to do 2-story high falls, just don't bend the wrist.
Oh, yeah,
because
no,
that's where it
definitely.
was broken. And Chris did the restorations on that, and it looks like it really did. I stick my stump in there, my stump, and I'm up on a 2-story high fall. They rig me with 3 squibs on my chest, and then I jump off, and then they hit the squibs, and so the blood spurts out, and then I let the arm go so it's in the air.
Jeez.
And I have pictures of that I can show you.
That
lately.
looks pretty
You
real.
can set that right on there.
By the way, Craig, how long did it take to Borgify you?
That, for the first Borgs on Star Trek Next Generation, that was about 4.5, 5 hours, sometimes 6. It depends on what they were doing, because they had more tubes and stuff on the head, but you had to do the makeup, then they had to put the tubes on, then they had to do more makeup, then you had to put different pieces of the of the Borg suit on, because they had a piece here, they had a piece here, and legs that you had to do, and then they strapped you on there. So you had to take it off if you had to, use the little boy's room. And it was just, it was really tough. And then it was in August, so instead of having, 50, 60-degree weather in the wintertime here, it was like 90s and 100. And so you were sweating like a pig. And even in the sound studio, and then they would shut off the air when they were shooting.
Right, so the
And
sound.
so you would drip, but with the makeup and stuff, they couldn't see you, but I mean, you were sloshing around in the suit because of the sweat.
And they put you in the white zombie makeup like all
Oh
Borgs,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Now they call it zombie makeup, yeah. But it was just really cool.
Yeah.
And the best and the Borg outfits for Star Trek Voyager. This was a nice deal. When they did the movie, the theatrical movie.
Oh, you
they
did
made
the
new
movie as
suit.
well.
No, I
good.
didn't. A friend of mine who's also an arm amputee, who is now a lawyer, Steve Derillian, he did the Borg with the missing arm in the movie. And I did, and then after they shot the movie, they used the movie Borg outfits to introduce them on the Star Trek Voyager. And so I got hired on because I was an arm amputee, duh. And so I got the part, because Steve couldn't do that because he was doing something else, and so we used to change parts. He would say, "Hey, I can't do this. Call him, and he'll get you on the job." And so we would do that back and forth, and so that's how I got to play the Borg with his suit on the two-part series when they introduced the new Borg suits on the Star Trek Voyager series. So I got a lot of traction on that, and along, with the Borgs, aliens, and humanoids, I did. How you doing?
Now, did you lose an eye? Did you on the
Oh,
show?
yeah,
Did they
yeah, and that
the
was-
Borg
that-
is always missing an eye.
Oh yeah.
Why, are those ocular implants? All the Borgs I noticed, is that?
Oh yeah, that takes years to get in, and then they hurt like hell when they yank them
I
out.
mean, why?
No.
I always wondered why most of these Borgs have half. Is that part of that hooks to the
Yeah,
brain?
the whole
So-
robot.
Well, yeah, it's part of the hive, so that
The
you're
hive, so
all
they can-
connected, and
so they can
it's got a
all connect it,
laser.
right.
But what you're like a pirate, and you go, "Arr, you make these R's squall on the horizon, arr." And so that's what I felt like, and I was always acting like a pirate between takes and cracking people up. So I mean, it was cool because you have to have a little levity because they want you to be serious and all that stuff, and so so you're wearing an eye patch, so you're only going around with one eye. And so, your depth perception and all that stuff, you got to watch out so you don't slam into to the sets.
So you're like a one arm, flying purple.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Yeah. We come out of the same mold. You got it.
One eye, one arm. Well, now what about legs? You always got. You're always walking. Never. Have you ever buried your body in the floor where you're just?
Oh no, no. But what I did do to separate me from some of the other humanoids.
Oh, humanoids. Yeah.
Humanoids. On one of the episodes, they always had me walking, and so you always saw the back of me, and I had the what I called the Harriet Nelson, from Ozzie and Harriet. Yeah. If you weren't a twinkle in your dad's eye, you're in the 50s. You knew Ozzie and Harriet and Ricky Nelson and all the gang. I called it, the makeup people called it the Harriet Nelson hair because they had bones in my hair. And when I was walking backwards...
Is this as a Borg or is this a species?
No, this is as a humanoid. It's not species one. It was different. It was a humanoid.
Oh, you were a humanoid.
And I
Not related to humanoids from the deep.
That's
you're
right.
on Star Trek Voyager, your episode Unity. Okay.
Yeah.
Episode Unity, everybody, on Star Trek Voyager.
And I had the makeup, and I had the bead coming down here and on here, and I have one in the white. I was in white makeup, and in one of my pictures, it's with a natural, because when they were starting to Borgatize you, the director wanted you to have the white makeup like you were sucking all the humanity out of you. Wow. And so when you see a lot of these, and like the Borgs, because a lot of them had the white face, and that's why, it was because they were the humanity was sucked out of them. And so when you see two different pictures of me in that episode, one will have the one will have the flesh, more of a flesh color, but of the humanoid, and then sucking out of the, what was left of the humanoid and human of the humanoid into a Borg, into the white flesh counter. And so that's what that was. And what I was going to tell you, and you can watch this. Oh, in the back, I can't do this with the phone. But I was walking kind of with a
jaunt.
Because everybody was walking like this. And so I was doing, like kind of like the elephant walk with the little thing here, like Saturday night, what was it, the John Travolta movie?
Saturday Fever.
Yeah, Saturday Night Fever. Yeah. So I was doing a kind of a tape. I was thinking, now how can I make it so people will look at me on that episode and not all the rest of the humanoids? Since most of the time all you're seeing me is because they had me walking back, and then they had me coming back and forth on the side, so you saw me a side view, and everything was really quick. But when I was walking in from the back, they always had me, 3 or 4 seconds, or going into another room or picking up something or doing, whatever they wanted me to do. So I had that swagger, and so you could always point me out in that episode. So that's kind of some of the tricks of the trade. But don't tell anybody.
No, never.
I don't want anybody to know that.
Your secrets are safe with us.
Okay, yeah, I know that. Thank you.
So that one Borg picture where you had, it looked like it was already your damaged arm, okay, and I see like they got this electronic, they got machinery like, attached to the appendage.
Uh-huh.
There, was that after it gets destroyed? What happened there? Was that before and after?
Was that on Star Trek Next Generation?
I'm not sure which. I don't know if it was Voyager or.
Oh, you mean
you were all Borged up in that suit, and then there were still like the Borg parts
stuff,
of the arm.
Stuff hanging. Okay, that was Michael Westmore, and that was on Star Trek Next Generation. And he had and he put a prosthetic piece on my stub.
Right, it was on the stub. Yeah.
And what was that? They were either. It was either. They didn't go into the background of that. It was either ripped off or blown off, and then they were going to repair it, and that's why they call it the damaged board. So that was the whole premise, but they didn't go into the backstory of that, and I thought maybe they would, but the writers had so much material, that they didn't need.
They said they just left it to figure it out for ourselves.
Yeah,
right?
they never knew. It was just left up to the audience to, put it up on their own, and a lot of times. That's what they did on Star Trek, because then they'd come back, and when they had a lot of feedback for a certain character or something, then they would, hey, well, let's bring this character back, and we can write some more stuff. And if they were running out of material for somebody else or something, then that's what they do all kinds of things. And so you never knew when you were going to get something or when it was going to. Be more or less. Not while I'm talking.
He was counting on that. No, but on the Star Trek: The Next Generation, did you work with Patrick Stewart or
not? Well, it was. It might have been a flash if they were coming through there, because it was mostly with the Borgs. Because Patrick, unless he was beamed down onto the one of the Borg, one of the Borg cubes, or on one of the planets or something that was going on. I think he kind of whisked by me, I could say, but I never had any scenes with him because it just didn't call for it. The scripts that that I was working with the rest of the Borgs, and the Borgs never talked. They just did voiceovers with mind thoughts, and they always had somebody else doing voiceovers. I don't know who the voiceover artist was, but he was good.
Jeff Coopwood. I have an article on him in Star Trek the Magazine, which is where you're going after we're off the air.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, you guys are really making me earn my bottle of water here. Okay.
Well, I told you, I thought it was Starlock. No, it's Star Trek the Magazine. So there you go.
Okay. You Star Trek the Magazine.
You were leading me down the path of unrighteousness. I know. Okay. You got to watch this, Jeff. I know. And you work with him all the time, right?
He's very, very shifty.
Oh,
he's
shifty,
very skeevy.
Yeah. I kind of bust his chops all the time, but I told you he's the best journalist and does the greatest interviews. Look on this. Vintage. I think we had these in fourth grade, elementary school.
Interviews.
That's right. I thought I was in the Twilight Zone. I saw that. No. But I like Twilight Zone is one of my favorite shows. I love it.
We'll be at a panel at a convention, and everybody pulls in their digital recorders, on a stick. Patrick pulls out of his bag this thing, and everybody's looking at Patrick going like,
it's the only one that'll get the job done. I mean, I prefer the sound of tape. I have digital recorders. I've just never cared for them. Tape has what I want.
How do you keep that when you have to repair it, do you have somebody? Because I have cassettes.
I
You have cassettes, like 90-minute cassettes.
90-minute and 60 minutes that I only put.
you guys got to make a deal.
Okay, yeah, that's with my '92 Mustang GT convertible, red with black leather. It's AM/FM, 6 speakers with a cassette. No, 90, no. And all my cars have cassette tapes, and my wife's car, she's got a Jeep Grand Cherokee 2000 that she loves because she's a 4'11", maybe 10 and a half now because she's shrinking.
I hate to break up the party here real quick. I'm going to reset the clocks and let us run over. So
yes, run us over. We're not done yet.
Please, some Dick Dale while I reset the clocks.
Okay, because I warned you that I told you that we were going overtime.
Oh, yeah.
On our last 3 shows.
And that's great.
Well, as long as we have good guests, we go over. You're a good guest.
It's not like there's another DJ waiting to come in here and do a show. You know? It's like,
no, I just get my balls busted. So.
Dan gets his balls busted, but that's okay because that's what a producer does. He catches all the slack for us.
Yeah,
we don't get yelled at. He does.
I make the food, take out the trash. You know.
That's this one.
Okay.
And this is.
Voyager. Wow, look at that. Now, what alien is this?
That's the humanoid.
This is
That's
the humanoid. Yeah, that's a humanoid.
Okay. Now.
And this is. I've got on the back. This is the Borg.
Oh, okay. Now that's
And that's what I was telling you about the white. You take all the humanoid out of you.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, you're hooked up with it. Like, those boys really go to town on you.
Oh, yeah.
When you're in the hive.
Well, you know, anyone listening, by the way, the Borgs were...
And this is when they were trying to take me out, the humanoid and Unity. And this is when I was with the white face
like
because they were deep.
A Richard Simmons clone gone bad.
Yeah.
Wow.
And let me see here. What else we got?
Wow.
Okay, this is the full shot in the
Wow.
in the Borg when I played the Borg on Scorpion Part 1.
Scorpion Part 1.
And that's the full Borg shot.
Are we reset, Dan?
We're reset. We're back on.
Oh, we're back. Okay.
I turned the music
my
off.
My question was, I remember that episode where Captain Picard gets bored. Remember and how do you unboard once you've been bored?
Well, they have a unborging. I think Jerry Ryan was playing a part of that.
Right.
And it's in another episode, in that Unity episode, they were different aliens that were on another planet. Now it's coming back to me, and with that little light bulb that flickers on and off every once in a while in my head. And this gentleman here, hold on one second.
Sure.
Just need some traveling music.
There we go, travel music. That's good, Dan. Thank you.
No problem.
Here he is. He's right in front of me. If it was a snake, it would have bit me. This is when they're taking the Borgs back into humanoids or whatever species you were.
Wow.
And so that was my.
So you were an
humanoid.
alien. Was the humanoid was an alien who became a Borg?
Yeah.
Okay,
No, that's a humanoid.
Different episode, not a Borg episode.
Okay,
Yeah, and that's me as that's the same character with. Hold on one second.
So that other guy, the character that's with you on this picture,
Yeah.
with that, it looks like a trap door. That's the weirdest ocular. I mean, there's no camera, nothing for vision. It just his eye socket is. Yeah, that's like okay. What's going on here? So is he from the same planet as you are?
Yes, he is. Oh, he was the Rumaloid doctor. He was a humanoid Rumaloid doctor.
Humanoid, rumaloid.
It's a tongue twister.
Doctor. Okay, the Romulan.
Say that 10 times fast.
Yeah.
Wow. So wow.
Did you show it? Did you get that?
Yeah,
The
show it on the camera.
Rumaloid,
Yes,
Romaloid doctor.
That's okay, Romulan doctor. Yeah.
My business partner is going to harass me because I screwed up his
Now,
name.
I want to ask about your hairdo on that one.
Romaloid.
Now,
Okay.
is that a typical Romulan hair salon?
That's my hair.
hairstyle?
That's my Harriet Nelson hair, and you can see the
my
pieces
hair-
in there. That was
wait.
bone. That.
My hair at Nelson.
Is that your real hair, or is this the hair they gave you?
Oh no, that's the hair they gave me.
That's the hair. That's why.
You know what? The craziest thing about doing Star Trek Aliens is the baby pins in your hair hurt more than anything else.
Oh yeah, and
To hold the wig on,
and
you know?
and when they taken off all the glycerin and all the other stuff, if you have hair on your body,
Right.
they just go crazy, and it pulls and tears. But I'm used to that from being in the prosthetics when they're taking casts for doing prosthetic arms. So I've had a whole schooling of that and how to make it less hazardous to your health.
I want to know, did you have live cast, any of these shows that you've done, taken a full head live cast of you?
The only thing they did was live cast. They take a cast of my arm when they were making different prosthetic
But what about
pieces.
for your facial pieces? They didn't use,
No.
they didn't mold your face?
No, it was just all applied prosthetics. They glue them on, and then they apply makeup, and then they put some more pieces on. So it was all, layered type prosthetics. I didn't have to go through that, luckily, but who knows in the future what they're going to use me for.
Wow. And what did you do in the 9 Inch Nails video?
Oh, 9 Inch Nails.
Stars.
Oh, yes.
Let me show you that.
We have a musician watching us right now, James Dillon. Yes, he's 9 Inch Nails video.
Oh, hang
Check
on. I
this
actually
out.
handed you my questions. Could you hand me back the pictures for a sec?
Oh, yeah.
I actually handed you my questions.
I have 9 Inch Nails and Spy Hard.
Wow.
These two are easy because I don't have to worry about it. It's Spy Hard and 9 Inch Nails.
Okay, this is for those of you who have watched Spy Hard with Leslie Nielsen.
I handed you my questions.
This is a great scene
What's that?
where
Can I get your board pictures
he
back?
gets
I handed
his
you my
arm
questions.
ripped off
I handed you my
by this beast.
Oh,
Okay, who's
Weird.
the actor? Who's this actor
Let's see,
here
let's see.
that rips your arm off? In Spy Hard.
I'm
Who's
sorry?
Who's the guy who rips your arm off? This big dude. Who is that?
I don't remember his name because it's on the credits on Spy Hard, but he was half Mexican and half Apache Indian.
Wow.
His arms were as thick as my
He is
thighs.
huge. That bulldog looks like the size of a real bulldog. That tattoo
Wow.
on his arm.
Oh yeah, and we only worked the one day together, and that was it. And I've never seen him again. But we had a good time on there. Leslie Nielsen walked by, and the whole premise of it was he walks by, we're straining on arm wrestling, and then that gentleman rips my arm off, and I go flying back into a box of rubble. And Leslie Nielsen gives in
And
his
you're doing
funny
your own
looks.
stunts there.
Huh?
There's a real rubble, or is it fake rubber dirt?
Oh,
or-
fake. It was boxes and cans and stuff, but it was all movie props. And so that was my first stunt job. And it's quite funny on that episode how I got hired on that. It was the stunt coordinator. His name was Richard. Let's see, what was it now? I had a
memorable,
brain
was it?
fart.
Thanks
Brain
for the
fart.
gig.
While you're
Thanks
thinking
for
of
the
that,
gig,
we
Richard.
have our other double amputee actor I've worked with, John Lawson. You've seen him out on.
Oh yeah,
Oh, John Lawson,
Yeah,
hey.
we do all of our auditioning together. Every time they need amputees, I see him, he sees me. We did an audition for Hawaii Five-0, and he was coming out of the audition. I rolled down my window because I was driving down the street, and I saw him, and I said, "Hey, what's the deal with Hawaii Five-0?" And he says, "Just go in and do it, and they give you time, and they'll rehearse it with you, and do it, just do your best job." So, okay. So I went in there, did my best job, and I don't think either one of us got it. So I don't know what they did.
He didn't want you to get it, but he wanted to get it himself.
Oh, yeah. We all,
Sorry, John.
we all do,
But it's great. I mean, you do things when you and Robert Mukes go in for the same part, and then he'll...
No, there's nothing worse than liking a guy in your type. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You love John. I love Mukes, but I know when the guy, when he and I are in the same edition of that shit, I've really got to work for this.
Oh yeah.
It's great, man.
Yeah, but it really kind of ticks you off when you see an able-bodied actor doing your part, and
And
okay,
they're
they were just renting it, huh?
Yeah, and they green screen, and they it's just like with the dwarves on Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, but you don't want real dwarves. You want Elijah Wood. You can't complain about Gary Oldman playing Lieutenant Dan because it was.
The little people say you're taking our jobs away.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And it's just funny, but Fred Waugh, that's
Freddie Waugh, who also
Fred
doubled.
Waugh.
Fred Waugh, Waugh, also doubled Nicholas Hammond on the Spider-Man TV show. That was him in the outfit.
Okay, good. We know. Okay, so what the deal was on that? And another hard audition I had to do. Steve Derillian was up for that, and he couldn't do it because he was doing some other movie. And so he said, "Call Fred Waugh and tell him I sent you, and tell him you're an arm amputee, and you'd like to audition for the part." And so I called Fred Waugh. Steve gave me his number, and I called Fred Waugh, and I said, "Fred, this is Craig Reed. I'm an amputee actor, character actor, and Steve can't do it, and so he referred me to you." And he said, "Oh yeah, Steve told me about you," and so he gave me a brief thing of what we're going to do. We're going to do an arm wrestling scene. Les Neal's going to walk by, and you're going to get your arm ripped off. I said, "Ooh, cool. That sounds good." And I said, "Well, what do you need me to audition for you?" He said, No, I've seen your picture. All I want to do is I ask you one question." And I said, "Okay, what a personal question." I said, "Okay, what's the personal question?" And he said, "Do you have any hair on your head?" and I'm on the phone, and I'm thinking, I'm on candid camera? Is this a Twilight Zone? And I said, "Mr. Waugh, I have a full head of hair, no problem." And he said, "Well, you're hired."
Wow.
So I have three jobs that were hired like that, and he was the greatest stunt coordinator.
He's gone now, isn't he?
Yeah, he passed away, but his kids, I haven't met his kids, but hopefully some way we'll know them and pass it on, because I was talking to somebody else, and he told me that Fred Waugh passed away, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks, because he was such a great guy, and he was just a dynamite stunt coordinator on Spy Hard.
And when you look at him in Spider-Man, he climbed the Empire State Building. They had him in the cables. He climbed that building in a Spider-Man outfit in the 70s. You see in the old reruns of the show.
Yeah.
Freddie Waugh in New York in the 70s climbed the Empire State Building. They pulled him on wires and stuff. But that's really him outside of the Empire State Building going all the way up.
Oh, yeah. It's something else. He's just really an amazing guy, and his kids, I'm sure, are the same way, because they're doing stunt coordinating and producing or directing, I believe one of his sons is. And if I'm not mistaken, but if I am, I apologize. But he is, it's just great. I can't remember any bad experiences working with the actors that I worked with. That
No
worked with the
divas
characters.
on Star Trek or anything?
No divas that I worked with that I'm aware of, except on Baby Blue Marine.
Jan Michael Vincent.
No.
Oh, really?
Oh, absolutely not. He sat with all the cast and crew at the breakfast table, at the lunch table, and dinner table. And
Shocking.
he sat across from me because we started talking over craft service in between, foods and everything, dinner breaks and lunch breaks, breakfast breaks. And it was in downtown Los Angeles at an empty hotel, and we used the bar in there as the Victory Lounge. And so all the all the military people that were damaged, lost arms, legs, came in. It was like a USO thing. They came in there, and so they had all these beautiful girls that I was dancing with, and I was in a corporal uniform with my right arm pinned up.
Like you just happened.
I lost my arm in World War II. Oh, poor guy. And so I'm dancing with all these guys. Jan Michael Vincent's at the bar, and I'm getting all these good shots, over Jan's shoulder and in between Jan Michael Vincent and Richard Gere. And most of the people didn't know who Richard Gere was because he was a struggling actor, and he was a World War II veteran that came back, and his hair was all white because it turned white because he was in such brutal, nasty, horrific battles. And so, and he had to go, and he was on his way back to the front in World War II. And Jan Michael Vincent was in baby blue dungarees because he was washed out of the Marines, and that's what they did. They sent him home if you couldn't make it through boot camp.
Wow.
And so what they were doing, drinking and telling, Jan Michael Vincent said, "Man, I want to go back. I want to get into the war, and I just couldn't make it through boot camp. They booted me out." And Richard Gere says, "Man, you don't want to go back there. It's indescribable horror. And look at my hair," and something like that. And they're back and forth, and they're drinking. Anyway, so we were taking all these scenes, and it was taken all day, or it may take a couple of days because they would shoot them at different angles and all the other stuff, and then screw-ups and resets and all that kind of stuff that goes on. And so all this time I'm dancing with these girls, and this is my first movie, and I'm with Jan Michael Vincent
Right.
and a little-known actor, Richard Gere, who was very aloof. He always ate all his meals in his trailer, and Jan Michael Vincent would sit there, talk about the kids. He surfed, I surfed, he rode motorcycles. I drove Jeeps, little CJ5 Jeeps out in the desert with my girlfriend's family, and who would soon become my father-in-law. Then when he passed away, I bought the Jeep for my mother-in-law, so I had that. I use it for hunting and just going out and having a good time. But anyway, so back and forth with the Baby Blue Marine, Richard Gere takes Jan Michael Vincent out into the alleyway, rolls him, takes off his dungarees so he can go home, and puts Jan Michael Vincent in his, Marine uniform with all his battle ribbons and everything. And so Jan Michael Vincent goes home to his girlfriend and the family and friends in his hometown. It's back in the Midwest someplace. And so he's acting like he's a war hero. And then it goes back and forth, and you find out because his girlfriend gets, raped by some of the local hooligans that always harassed him. And so he comes back and rights the wrongs and does all this stuff. I won't tell you how it ends, but it's
We've had 41 years to see it.
Yeah, but you can see it, and I like it. It's a cool movie, and but that was the greatest movie because I was in it. I had great food. I danced with all these beautiful girls, and I got paid for it.
By the way,
So
wow.
I said, "Man, I want to do more
That's
of
a
this."
life.
And
There's
that's how I
no
did it.
business like show business,
Oh,
man.
yes,
That's why
yes.
we do this stuff.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's great, and it's just it's just every time it's new. Even if you're on a reoccurring character, every show is different.
Every time it's
every
new,
nuance on the character you put is a little different because you have to add something to it, so it's not it's just amazing. It's very creative and very exhausting.
Speaking of which,
Yes.
tell us about being a Confederate soldier on the New Westworld.
Oh, okay.
Oh yes, yes. So I did a small part on. I did.
That's right.
Westworld
We
too.
talked about
They
that.
fired, they
Yeah,
fired
but
Jeff,
it wasn't the same episode.
they fired
Oh,
Jeff,
I couldn't. I was.
They fired Jeff because they saw him patting his crotch.
I looked like Yosemite Sam Elliott.
That's right. That's right. and what they did, they used me as a Confederado, and they had about, I think there was 3 or 4 amputees on there, but it was at the Melody Ranch, which used to be owned by Gene Autry, and then when I was there, I found out that there's 4 different ranches that he used to own, for different sets that they used for all the westerns and everything else, and they're using it for Westworld now. And that's over in, what is it?
It's in the hills in that little canyon there.
Yeah, by Magic Mountain. Out of
Like Santa Clarita Hills.
Santa Clarita, Santa Clarita. And I've worked there on Magnificent Seven when they did the series a number of years ago. I worked on one of the sets in there in one of the canyons, and it was really cool. But with Westworld, I played this Confederado, and what they wanted me to do, but the director didn't tell me, is that they were going to use me for a pincushion with all these people are in the fort, and these Confederate soldiers were charging the fort, and they have these big double wooden doors in front of the fort. They did an explosion, and all of them were dead or dying, and so one guy was that lost an arm and a leg. He was all shredded up from the explosion, and he was on one side of me, and another guy was on another side of me with a leg, and they had me right in the middle. And so they had what I called the little octopus, because they had a bone prosthetic, and they had all these strips of looks like skin hanging down. And so when I wiggled it, it looked like a little octopus.
You got a squid hanging
Or
from
a squid, yeah. It was a squid, not an octopus, but a squid. And so I'm laying down on my back, and then they gave me a rubber black powder pistol like they would use in the Confederate time period. And I said, "Do you want me to take it out and act like I'm trying to shoot them to keep them from killing me?" Because they opened up the doors, and so all these guys come out, and they have these bayonets, and then they are, poking at people to make sure they're dead, or if they're not and they're in pain, they're just killing them so they, don't have to, try to repair them. And so they come back up, and they said, "Well, we got a boom camera over here coming over your head," but he didn't tell me there was another camera to my left, and then there was a cart, and then there was me, and all these bodies were surrounding. So I was kind of like the cream filling in the Oreo cookie.
That's disgusting.
And so as you're eating, okay, okay. And so anyway, we do a couple of rehearsals, and they come by, and then they stab me with a bayonet in between my arm and my body, and then they didn't tell me that they were going to use some CGs. So what they do on some of the rifles, they have these little orange tips, because then we go back and put the bayonets on, and then when they poke you, they're poking you with the little stubs, and then what they do is they put in the bayonets, and then they put the holes in you, and they squirt out the blood.
Great effect, man.
So you don't have the blood, and you don't have it going all over the place. And Nip Tuck's another story where I was a bloody mess.
Did you pull that pistol, though? You?
No, he said, "Don't pull a pistol.
Oh, man.
Just get up, and like you're trying to get up, and tell him, don't, just grunt and groan and shake, and, don't kill me." And so I see the
In
other
Spanish.
camera over there where he didn't tell me. And so instead of laying on my back, I get on my side so they can see my squid wiggling. Yeah. And then, once they, and they did the explosion later. Everything's not done at the same time in these things.
Right.
And so the explosion was done after we did the layout and everybody was dead. Then they come back and do a big explosion, and then they put it all, they edit it all together. So
Wow.
more movie,
Magic.
some mysterious, backlot talk. And so anyway, so he comes back and they're doing it back and forth. So they have, background action. And so they open up the doors. They come in there with their rifles and their CG bayonet tips. And they go by and stick in a few people. And they come up there and they stick me and I go back down. And I come back up, and they stick me some more, and then some guys from this side stick me.
Oh.
And then I roll over on my back, and then I open up my eyes, and the camera comes right over my head and stops.
Oh,
and
excellent.
I'm thinking, I can't blink, I can't breathe, and it seems like it's for hours, and it's probably only for 15, 20 seconds, and then it stops, and then they say, cut, let's do it again. And I said, how am I doing? He said, you're doing fine. If you don't say anything, you're doing fine. And if they tell you something, you're probably doing it wrong. Wow. So you don't want them to talk to you, the director.
Yeah. Wow.
But he said, you want me to do anything different? He said, just do the same damn thing. So for the next 2 or 3 times they did that, I just, did this, rolled over, eyes open, didn't breathe, and like a dead person,
Wow.
not typecast, but
Well,
hey, the paycheck's good,
well,
the craft service is
You're
good.
you're holding your breath like you do, like where you're being tumbled under the waves, right? So you're
Yeah.
good at holding your breath, and
Oh yeah, all that good stuff. But I don't do any big waves. I'm 2 and 3 foot, waist high, mellow stuff, so you can enjoy it. I'm not, I don't have the brass balls like I did when I was 16.
yeah, you're
17.
not going to ride a thruster with the
No, I'm not.
You're
I'm
a
not doing that
longboard
anymore.
guy, right?
just a longboard guy that just
Are
kicks
you a
back.
longboard
and just-
guy? Are you a longboard guy, Craig?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, a 9 foot Bill Stewart from San Clemente. He hand shaped my board. We went out and surfed at Old Man's, and he said, "I'll shape your board. We'll go out and surf." So it was like the following week when I brought my car down there and my Gordy board, and so I put the Gordy board back in the garage, and it hasn't seen salt water since then because I didn't want to ding it up.
Yeah.
And so we went out, and he gave me one of his boards to ride, and he saw what I was doing because I wanted the concave, but I didn't want a nose rider. And so he kind of concaved it out in the front, so when I did a late takeoff, I wouldn't pearl it. And because I like to do late takeoffs and just kind of rip the ray from the bottom and come up and do all that kind of
So
stuff.
when you're doing a one-hand push-up, so when you get up on your board, you just center your balance and just push up and do that one
Push up.
motion, right?
Right there, just like on the table here.
Yeah.
Get right, I center it, just push up, and I kind of jump and push up, get my feet down, hopefully, so I don't pearl out, and then I just ride it. And with the hydro hole, man, I'm giving him a lot of advertisement.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw you
I
some.
hope he appreciates this.
You should be have a poster of you with your board, and like
I'll have to pitch him for that.
pitch him for that.
advertisement.
That'll be great, man.
And anyway, when you're riding the board on one of those hydro holes, if you sit back, because it's got these half circles, concave like a boat.
Yeah.
So it operates, so it functions, and it's a tri-fin, but it functions just like a little shortboard.
Yeah.
And then when you get into the middle and closer to the nose, it just rides like a longboard. And then you can go up and do nose rides right up in there, and you can get a lot of nose rides just like a nose rider.
All
like
the way
Gordy had
into
nose rider.
shore.
And it's just, oh yeah, if you're lucky.
If you're lucky, if you keep
Yeah.
that wave going.
And it's just cool. Surfing is just something that it just puts you into another, like nirvana or whatever.
Wow.
Exactly.
And you don't worry about anything else.
You don't think about nothing else. Just like me when I get on my bike, man.
Oh, yeah.
I got to ride. I ride. And that's what I do. I told you I went down to El Porto.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and after it's so hot and sweaty, and I'm doing some business down in the yacht club, and then I head straight for the beach, and I I forgot about everything. And then I said, oh, shit, I got to make another flyer. I got another guest on my show. And then
Yeah, no kidding.
Now, I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
I'm looking at this night. It says Star Suckers. Okay.
Star Suckers.
Now, I'm looking
He
here.
played the Carney leader, the boss in the Star Suckers video.
Now, I'm looking here on YouTube, and it says, I'm showing my right here. It says
Don't say what they usually
Star
have on.
Fuckers and Star Suckers. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So that's why I harp my horn. So which video is it? The same video?
Yes.
Oh, it's the whole video. I'm in like 3/4 of the video. They come up in the limousine, Trent Reznor and a girl, and you don't know who that is until supposedly the end. Marilyn Manson.
Wow, the girl's Marilyn Manson?
Yeah.
Wow.
And when I got the job, I got hired. I went in there and they said, well, we want, when I said, well, what do you want me to do for the audition? And the gal said, well, come in and we want you as a carny boss in a carnival. So wear the straw hat. So I looked around and my daughter had a straw hat. And so I went and auditioned for this, music video with Marilyn Manson and Trent Reznor. I didn't know who he was. And after I got when I auditioned for it, the gal said, well, act like a carny boss. And so I just did an ad lib as what I saw on the Christmas Vacation, for when he was sprinkling the pixie dust on the Triller Whirl a Twirl. And so I just started going into my Christmas Vacation carny boss things that I picked up from there, and other things from going to the carnivals and seeing people hawking, come do your throw the ping pong balls, get a fish, and
Kill that lady, Jeff. I can't hear
get a QB doll, and so anyway, I have this, and I go through all the same, and so she likes all my ad-libbing as a carny boss, and she says, okay, one thing, take off the straw hat.
Wow.
Okay, so I take off the straw hat, and she says, okay, you're hired. You're not wearing a straw hat on this. You're paying a broken down carny boss. And so I'm sending it to Marilyn Manson and Trent Reznor, and she took a picture or something and sent it to him. And so it came, before I got home, she called me on the phone and said, well, you're hired. And so it's going to be up in Palmdale, up in the desert. So what they filmed it was, I went up there on like a Wednesday, Thursday, and then they started filming Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday and Sunday, or Friday night, Saturday and Sunday night. And so I'm in a wife beater T-shirt.
Oh, there you are. Haha.
With shorts and tennis shoes with no socks. And it's like 40 degrees out there when the sun goes down in the upper desert up in Palmdale. And then the wind was blowing for the whole weekend. So you're getting sandblasted all the time. And so a lot of the crew would give me my jacket so I could put on between takes.
Wow.
And so you were chewing sand in all your craft services, and so it was keeping you regular. But it was a tough shoot, but it was really cool. And when I first got in there on Friday, before dark, because they were shooting all at dark, and they had the balloon lanterns that they put up there, so you can see it like daylight. And so the makeup makeup artist said, come with me, Craig, because I was in my costume, my wife beater shirt. We come to craft services, and the strawberries, blueberries, and they had raspberries, and they started squishing it all over my T-shirt.
Wow.
And so what you see on there is my costume. They didn't have to give me any makeup because my face was all red because of all the sandblasting going on.
Oh, wow.
It's great, man. It shows you that where they're throwing the ball at the dunk tank and all the dust in the air. It's just like,
oh yeah,
it's the ultimate carny right there.
Yeah, and
it's
it was the whole premise of that was to take off on Courtney Love and the guy that lost his Kurt Cobain. And Marilyn Manson and Trent Reznor were good friends with Kurt Cobain, and they blamed Courtney Love for his committing suicide.
Yeah,
and so this whole music video was a put down on Courtney Love because they blamed her for all this stuff. And I learned this, later on after we did the shoot, and I can't remember. It wasn't from Trent Reznor or Marilyn Manson. But anyway, I learned it from one of my buddies or somebody that saw the film and then said, you know what this is, you know what the parody is on that? And I said, no, he didn't tell me. And he said that's what it was when we were throwing Courtney Love's CDs into the toilets, like like the ping pong balls, to get your fish. Well, you're throwing her CDs in the toilet, in the thing. And so I just figured, it was just supposed to be a joke. Well, it was a joke. It was supposed to be on her. But I don't know if they've ever patched up or made up. But
after that, I don't see how.
Yeah, it was just one of those back stories of what went on. And, that's a lot of times what they do. A lot of the singers and bands, they have tough times or they, have fallouts with one another, and so they do songs and videos to, let out the anger or frustration or whatever it is. So
what? That song was about me, wasn't it? How dare you?
Hey,
so they haven't done anything about me yet.
Hey, you know what, Craig? You've been a great guest. A lot of great stories. I appreciate you coming on the station. But as producer,
the golden toe is here.
I have to.
Don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Thank you.
No. We'll have you back again.
Okay.
Yes,
we could probably stay here till noon. You've got.
Yeah.
We're just getting warmed up.
I have multiple stories.
While we're getting ready, once we're off the air, I'll help you pack up because I've got like 10 minutes and more questions for the magazine.
Okay, good.
We got to take pictures for the magazine too.
Yeah, and then I just have one personal question. Do you have kids and grandkids?
Oh yes, I have a son that's in his 40s and a daughter that's in her. She's 39.
How could you have a son that's 40? You're only you look like you're 40.
I was married at 5 in West Virginia, and I had my kids at 10. I was very progressive.
That's why you're only 45 years old.
And my grandson is Alexander and Elizabeth. He's 14. She's 12. She goes to school in Brea, and he goes to school in Mater Dei. I think that's in Santa Ana.
Are they excited Grandpa's a Borg?
Huh?
Are they excited that Grandpa is a Borg?
Yeah, they don't give me any. They don't give me any slack at all.
Yeah, how do they feel that you're 5 years older than your oldest son?
Well, I'm like Jack Benny. I'm really only 39.
Oh man!
Hey, Craig,
but I have so many more stories to have on everything from Spy Hard. We never finished that. We did the Baby Blue Marine, Nip Tuck with Richard.
Real quick, tell us the bloody mess story. Can we do this, Dan? Are you pained, or would you?
Yeah.
We don't want to get Dan in trouble with the boss, the big boss.
We'll put that in my article.
He's not big.
Okay.
He's not big, but his voice is big. He might be 3 foot tall, but
Dan the man is the sweetest guy in the world.
I can hit him with my stunt arm. And I have all those things. So
I try to get out of here before he gets in.
Smart.
Yeah, let's get out of here, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's go. Hey, pimp your site. Where can people read or buy photos? Where can you send people to learn more about you, Craig?
Well, I just got my my Facebook page up. I do a lot of shows at the Westin Hotel. It's called the Hollywood Show. I'm a regular there with Jeff Browsler.
We got him booked for Halloween.
Okay, good for you.
He's going to be here Halloween Day on Tuesday.
Okay, tell him hi for me. And Steve Moriarty we have we
Also
share
a guest,
different
Steve
tables.
Moriarty.
We have tables right next to each other in the corner. They put us in the corner like Animal House, that they pledge all the blind cripples and the crazies. They put us all in the corner.
That's how I got my two guys. I was babysitting his table there, and
okay. Oh,
and
that's right. You came in there, and that's when I met you on there.
He was doing the 1941 reunion,
That's
the photo
right.
shoot, and so he said, "Well,
Steve
let's,
Moriarty, yeah.
let's go see what these guys are up to. Get them on my show."
Oh, yeah, yeah. You got to get a picture of my mannequin, or I can send it to you.
Yeah.
I can send it to you on your email address, and maybe you can post it.
Yes. Okay. Let's. We're signing off. Thank you for watching.
Thank you. Hey, Craig, thank you.
Have a fantastic, horrific
Craig. Thank
Halloween party weekend, everybody.
Thank you.
And
very
we'll
much.
see you
I
all on
appreciate it.
Monday. Monday, we've got Trisha Cruz, a very sexy
Trish the
actress.
Dish, baby. Trish the
Trisha
Dish.
Cruz. Trisha Cruz.
Oh, you want me in with you, too?
Oh, boy.
I think your time is
She's
done. Henry.
she's drop dead gorgeous.
We've got this
she's
one,
on Monday.
Craig. We've got this one, Craig.
We got it handled.
All right. I'll let you guys do it.
Okay.
Bye, all.
But
See you later, everybody.
Bye-bye.
you and I are done. You and I are doing.
Huh?
You and I are going to talk for another 10 minutes.
All right,
Okay.
one
You were
last
so full
plug.
of
The
good stuff. Thank you so
Rattlescent.
much.
Oh, good. Well, once I
Tonight.
get going, like I told
At
you,
the
next
Carmen
my wife-
Barn, we're getting
my
into-
daughter,
Is your wife an
my daughter,
actress?
huh?
Is your wife or daughter an actress?
No. I'm the only one in the family. Oh yeah. You
Yeah,
keep
Craig,
keep
can
that.
you pull out the Borg shots? I accidentally passed you my notes. No,
I'm sorry. You said that, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't hear you.
it's my own-
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
offer him some fruit.
Oh,
Oh,
yes. I was scratching my feet. That's why I
Oh,
didn't do it
okay.
myself.
Last two. Okay, when I was 20. Oh, okay. Oh,
And,
you have that on here.
But
you
yeah,
keep that.
Do you mind? I'm sorry.
Oh, that and that. Yeah.
I'm going to use
and
this
what's
for the article.
Okay, yeah, oh yeah, that's why I brought it in for, and that's part of my resume there,
Oh,
because
beautiful.
it's getting
Do you need
longer.
this one? Yeah,
No,
that's
keep
good.
all that, and you put that on there. When you said that, I didn't, because I set them down there, and I'm sorry.
No,
I,
no,
you know, and I
no.
apologize for being late, but we had a fender bender right at Euclid.
We thought
And I
you
was
were-
and I was right in the middle lane, and all of a sudden everybody slammed on their brakes, and I slammed on mine, and I came about 2 feet from the other guy, and everybody else was going, and then they were moving out, and one of the guys in a Jeep Grand Cherokee Black, somebody hit him in the rear end, and so everybody was moving around, so I got in there, and so I
we were
picked
happy you got here and you had so many stories.
I know we were going all this traffic, people, and all, he being arrested.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Let me have the strawberry. Thank you.
Here's
Take
our-
those blueberries off of his garden.
Yeah, they're from his garden. Dude. It's an
Oh no,
amazing garden.
oh, I'll take some then, because I love blueberries.
I was thinking that too. She's gonna eat my blueberries.
Hey, can I do a little Instagram thing where slide that off
Oh sure. On what?
He wants your rubber hand.
Oh, you want to do the rubber hand?